Hey guys! This is part 3 of What If Naruto Was a Digimon Tamer. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 8, The Dragon's Roar. About 3 weeks since Gadamon's arrival, Doraemon had taken the liberty to explain the workings of the real world to the feline Digimon. It took quite a while, but Gadamon was able to wrap her mind around the fact that things were different from that in the digital world. Due to spending so much time around each other, Gadamon immediately became best friends with Doraemon. While Naruto was at school, Doraemon and Gadamon were lounging on the couch watching the television screen, which was showing an episode of the actual Digimon television show. It amazes me just how anatomically correct these humans have made us in this program, Gadamon said. Doraemon nodded, not really caring. After all, he was made of the old interface, the prototype Digimon before all Digimon were made. To put it in simple terms, Doraemon was actually one of the first few Digimon, being made before the sovereigns themselves. So Doraemon? Gadamon asked. The fur-covered dragon turned to his feline companion in acknowledgement. Hi, so what else do you do in this world other than eat and watch this television? She asked. Doraemon shrugged. Well, I usually wait until Naruto gets home from school so then we can go out and look for any bio-emerging Digimon, he explained. Gadamon nodded. I see. She paused. So do you and Naruto do any kind of training in this world in order to hone your combat skills? Doraemon seemed a bit taken back by the question. Well, Naruto and I usually fight each other when there are no Digimon to fight. We go on the rooftop of the apartment complex and fight there since no one ever goes up there. Also, it is relatively safe since Naruto made a sound barrier seal and an invisibility seal on the roof so one will notice, Doraemon explained, before asking, why so curious all of a sudden? Because I want to fight you, she replied. Doraemon's eyes bugged out of his head momentarily. Really now? He asked. The feline Digimon curtly nodded. Hi, my battle skills have dulled a bit since I have arrived, as you and Naruto allow me to no longer roam free since people will know that I am, as you put it, a child in a Digimon costume due to certain characteristics. Only allowing me to roam at night, she replied. Doraemon's orange eyes stared into her crystal blue ones before he smirked. Okay, let's do it, he said. Gadamon nodded and followed the dragon Digimon out of the door before shutting the door closed. Doraemon led Gadamon up a few flights of stairs, and since the apartment complex was only 2 stories high, there weren't many occupants in the building and none of them really took notice of the 2 digital monsters walking up a multitude of stairs to the roof. The 2 Digimon arrived at a green door and Doraemon turned the handle that revealed the gray floored roof, which was open to the blue sky. A large iron fence outlined the roof so that people would not fall off it. Gadamon took a deep breath of fresh air before she followed Doraemon and stood in the center of the square roof platform A/N. The roof looks like the roof in Takato's school where he found Gilman when he lost him, except picture it with an iron fence around the area. The 2 Digimon stared at each other before stepping away from each other. They bowed to each other in a respectful way that warriors do before doing battle. They shifted into their respective battle stance. Doraemon spread out his legs, his left ahead of his right, and he was hunched over to provide less air resistance when he was to begin movement. His forearms twitched as his claws were ready to attack his opponent at any moment's notice. Gadamon was crouched on all 4s and her fangs bared, her pupil changing from rounded to slitted, her tail flicking back and forth. The wind lightly blew through the air between the 2 combatants before they growled at each other and charged towards each other. Doraemon aimed a slash at her face, but the cat Digimon blocked it with her large forepaws before aiming her own claws. Doraemon blocked it, and the claws interlocked with each other, causing sparks to form. The 2 Digimon landed on the ground. Doraemon quickly detached his claws from Gadamon's before sweeping her legs out from under her, sending Gadamon to the floor, but Gadamon rolled backwards to avoid the claws that were brought down on her head. The claws impacted with the ground and Gadamon aimed ahead but to her opponent, sending Doraemon skidding backwards slightly. Gadamon then punched the dragon Digimon in his snout before spinning to build momentum, and then kicking Doraemon's face before sending out a solid uppercut that sent Doraemon slightly off the ground. Doraemon used the slight lift-off to perform a back flip, which allowed him to land a solid kick to Gadamon's chin and landed firmly on his feet. Doraemon quickly spun to the side as Gadamon intended to slash at him with her claws, but Doraemon quickly dodged them before planting a knee in her stomach. Gadamon's eyes widened as the wind was knocked out of her lungs. Doraemon then spun on his heel and his tail slapped her face before he grabbed her by her throat and heaved her away. Gadamin landed on her feet and coughed a bit as she regained air in her lungs. Not bad, she commented, teasing the young dragon. Not too bad yourself, Doraemon replied with a smirk. The dragon and cat Digimon then rushed in each other and began a small melee battle before Doraemon was able to see an opening and took it. He slashed across her chest with his claws. Growling, Gadamin glared at the dragon Digimon as she noticed the 3 slash marks on her fur. Metal shoot! He yelled and then took to the skies before raining down a hailstorm of metal spheres. Gadamin used all of her agility, reflexes and speed to avoid the metal meteors before she jumped and landed on one of the spheroids and used it to aid her in reaching Doraemon's location in the sky before leaping high above him, and then her paw glowed with a whitish hue. Lightning paw! The shining claws slammed down on Doraemon's skull with momentous force, causing the dragon to yell out in pain before he descended to the ground. He managed to right himself and land on his feet before settling into a crouch so as to absorb the shock from landing so forcefully. The orange-eyed dragon rubbed his cranium and looked as his feline training partner stared at him, the 3 claw marks on her body now healing due to the somewhat rapid healing rate that all Digimon possess. A/N. I added this because I noticed even though the Digimon are hit with moves that should normally injure them, they end up coming out unscathed. Might as well explain it all. That really hurt, Gadamin, he whined. Well, in a real fight, an enemy wouldn't hesitate to kill you, Gadamin said with a monotone. Having lived most of her life in the digital world, Gadamin possessed the ability to change her personality from one of friendly and gentle to harsh and cold when on the battlefield. True, but you're not an enemy, the dragon Digimon replied. I see your reasoning for holding back. Gadamin stared into the orange-colored orbs of her best friend and smirked. But I have no intention of doing the same, Doraemon gulped. Oh dear. This is going to be painful, he thought as Gadamin rushed him. With Naruto, the blonde sighed as he watched Mr. Kazuma talk about William Shakespeare during their literature period. Who care about this guy? William Shakespeare. He won't help people get far in life, the whisker-cheeked shinobi thought. He rolled his sapphire eyes within their sockets as he was bored out of his mind. I hope Gadamin and Doraemon are doing okay, he added. That little dragon must be having so much fun. Back with Doraemon. This is not fun, he thought as the violet-furred dragon dodged the sharp claws of his female Digimon friend. Come, Doraemon, stop dodging and fight back for once, said the feline digital creature. Doraemon's sweat dropped. Well, I wish I could, but you won't give me a chance, Doraemon replied. Gadamin then crouched down and swept Doraemon's legs out from under him and sent him crashing to the ground. He then rolled to the side as Gadamin jumped in the air. Nico kick! She yelled, and then her glowing foot created a small crater in the roof as Doraemon avoided the blow. He then opened his maw and fired 7 metal projectiles. Metal shoot! Gadamin managed to avoid 6 of them, but the 7th quickly struck her in the stomach, sending her flying back and crashing into the fence. Gadamin fell to her knees and panted. Doraemon then got a worried look and walked up to her. Hey, are you okay? He asked, tilting his head to the side. Gadamin panted and nodded. Yeah. Just knock the wind out of me is all, Gadamin said. Doraemon sighed and then he was suddenly socked in the snout before Gadamin kicked him away. The dragon Digimon rolled on the ground and lay there before sitting up. That was not fair, I wasn't ready, he yelled out. Gadamin chuckled and stood to her feet and played with her whiskers. Oh, come on, big boy, you're not too tired, are you, or are you going to give and admit defeat at the hands of a girl? She teased. She laughed. But Doraemon's eyes quickly went slitted at the blow to his male pride, and then he took off. Hyper dash metal! He took off and slammed full force against Gadamin, sending both Digimon tumbling down onto the ground before stopping with Gadamin lying down with Doraemon straddling her waist and his claws holding down her own as she lay there with shock at Doraemon's move. The violet-furred dragon panted, his sharp teeth visible as he stared into Gadamin's eyes. After about a minute of remaining in that position, they realized that they were in said position, and with blushes on their faces, the two quickly separated and dusted themselves off. Good fight, Doraemon said, and then turned away to walk back to the room. Gadamin nodded. Yeah, same to you, Gadamin said. However, as she took a few steps forward, her legs buckled and she fell to the floor. Doraemon turned back and gasped in shock at seeing Gadamin on the ground clutching her snow-colored head. Gadamin, are you alright? He asked, but his words fell on deaf ears as she felt a strange feeling in her skull. It felt as if her skull was going to split open and then her pupils dilated, and unknown to her, the markings on her tail rings seemed to glow a soft yellow. An image formed in her mind's eye, the image from her dream, the angel Digimon Lucemon. She would recognize that digital signature anywhere now, even in her mind. The small angelic Digimon was facing off against 2 figures, but they were clouded in shadow so Gadamin could not recognize them. One seemed human-like while the other seemed to be a large reptile with large wings. The Dark Angel chuckled as he stared at the two figures. You think that you two can stop me? No one can. Lusman spoke in a soft, pure voice, but behind the pureness Gadaman could hear the evil and dark desires that were held within them. Yes, we will, and we will not rest until we destroy you for good, Lusman, two voices yelled. Gadaman watched from her mind's eye, and those voices sounded familiar, but she couldn't place them because they sounded strangely distorted for some reason. Please, I know your every move, your every attack, because I've had a spy watching you for quite a while, my young friends, Lusman said with a chuckle. The two figures seemed to growl in anger. What spy? No one on our side even knows of you, much less sided with you, the human-like figure yelled. The Dark Angel chuckled again, but this time a bit louder. You naive fools, the spy has been here amongst you this entire time, allowing me to watch through their own eyes while I observed you in silence. Lusman paused. The spy is none other than... The image swirled and Gadaman gasped before seeing Doraemon's face looking down at her. Gadaman, you spaced out! He exclaimed. Are you okay? Maybe our little spar took a bit more out of you than we thought. Gadaman shook her head and then stood to her feet, but she fell to her knees again and seemed to gasp slightly. It seems as if the mental images drained her of her strength. Doraemon frowned before picking Gadaman up and then flipped her so that her back rested comfortably in his arms as he carried her bridal style. What the hell are you doing? She asked with a mild glare. Doraemon eyed her warily. I'm carrying you, obviously. You're too tired to walk, apparently, the young dragon said. The cat Digimon huffed, but then wrapped her hands around the dragon's neck so as to not fall off as he carried her, a slight pinkish hue finding its way to her cheeks. Fine, she mumbled. Doraemon chuckled and then opened the door with his tail before descending down from the roof to their apartment room. As they entered the apartment using the spare key that was hidden in a seal-protected compartment of the wall that only Naruto and Doraemon could open, Doraemon set Gadaman on the couch, allowing her to rest her head on the pillow that was on said couch. He then brought her a glass of water and handed her it. Arigato, Doraemon, Gadaman said with a small smile at him. Doraemon nodded, but smirked in return before turning away. Gadaman sighed as she watched the violet dragon's retreating form. What was that scene in my mind, and what does it mean? Time skip, end of school. Naruto sighed in relief as the bell rung for the end of school. He then passed Takato and Henry as he walked out of the school's main entrance before backpedaling to talk to them. Hey Naruto, the two younger Tamers greeted the older blonde Tamer. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Hey, he replied. So, what's up? Henry asked. Naruto shrugged. Not much. Doraemon and I have been training and I have managed to keep my grades just above average. And speaking of training, how are Gilman and Terriermon doing? The blonde questioned. They are both fine, the two said. Gilman is taking a break from training and is expanding his shed, and by expanding I mean he dug a really big hole in the back wall and a large hole in the floor, Takato said. Naruto and Henry's sweat dropped at that. And as for Terriermon, he's been telling me momenti every time I ask him to go and do something constructive with his time, Henry sighed. I see. So I'm guessing he's been Princess Putty Pants this entire time, Naruto guessed. That's pretty much what's happening right now, the Chinese Tamer said. Naruto nodded and then looked at his watch. Well, I gotta get going. Doraemon's probably waiting on me with Gato. Naruto paused before becoming silent and turning away. Takato and Henry looked at Naruto and then each other before shrugging. Probably something he didn't want to mention. Phew, I nearly blew it there. I forgot that I had to keep Gadaman a secret from the other. Well, except Rika, because she was there. Gadaman seems a bit off, and I don't think exposure to other Digimon would be good for her. Besides Doraemon, the whisker-marked Tamer thought as he walked back to the apartment. Naruto's apartment, outside the door. Naruto dug his hands into his pockets as he searched for the key. He found the bronze-colored key and was about to stick it into the keyhole when he began to hear strange noises from inside the apartment. He quickly paused and then leaned in closer, using his advanced hearing to listen in on Doraemon's and Gadaman's conversation. Oh come Doraemon, please just let me suck on it, Gadaman said. Nanny, no one touches my private property. Please, I'll be very careful and won't bite it. Much Naruto's eye twitched as he heard the conversation. Then he heard Doraemon sigh in defeat. Gadaman must have used the puppy dog eyes on him. Just 1 minute please, he heard the cat Digimon beg. Doraemon sighed again. Alright, but only for 1 minute. After that I'm taking it back and... Naruto heard enough and stuck the key into the keyhole and quickly turned it before opening the door. The two Digimon gasped in surprise at Naruto barging in. Okay, what the fuck is going on? I heard strange noises and disturbing conversation. Naruto bellowed as he took the key out of the hole and shut the door with a loud BM. He then blinked and saw Doraemon holding a cherry-flavored lollipop in his claws and was handing it to Gadaman, who snatched it with cat-like speed before sucking on it with childish glee. Doraemon looked between Gatoman, his lollipop and Naruto, but decided to focus on his tamer. Okay, what the hell are you talking about? The dragon Digimon asked. Naruto paused, his mouth hung open as he stared at the lollipop before Gatoman removed it from her jaw and put it in Doraemon's. Naruto closed his mouth and turned towards the bedroom. Nothing, say absolutely nothing, he thought. Doraemon thought for a bit as he watched Naruto place his bag on the floor in their bedroom. Then the cogs began to turn as he wondered what Naruto thought was so disturbing. He relayed the conversation he and Gatoman had and thought about it from Naruto's perspective, and after a few seconds, things clicked. His teeth gritting together so hard, the lollipop in his mouth shattered into pieces of artificially sweetened candy. He spat out the lollipop stick and growled, "You fucking pervert, how could you think of Gatoman and I doing that?" he roared. Doraemon stalked his way towards his tamer and growled. The blue-eyed shinobi turned and looked down at his partner and chuckled nervously. "Hey, it's not my fault. All of my senseis were perverts," he said in his defense. "Strike one," Doraemon growled. Naruto looked around as he thought of another excuse. He knew he could easily defeat the dragon Digimon, but he didn't want to destroy his apartment. That, and it would disturb the neighbors, and also an angry Doraemon was very, very dangerous. Coming third to an enraged Tsunade and Rika. "It's Ero Sennin's fault. He gave an Ika Paradise book to read and I was bored and he made me do it," the blonde said. Doraemon paused. The excuse was plausible, and having been told of Naruto's former sensei Jiraiya, he was safe. For now. "Fine, you're free. But never make that assumption again. Gatoman's my friend and I care about her too much to let her do something like that," the dragon growled. Naruto nodded slowly and backed away from the dragon as Doraemon's claws began twitching. "Okay, I won't do it again," Naruto said. Gatoman watched the entire thing and paused as she also began to think of what had caused Doraemon to go into such a rage. The conversation she and Doraemon had was instantly being played through their mind, and due to having lived in a world where certain things had to be known to survive, Gatoman immediately blushed at having realized what Naruto thought, but then blushed even more when she heard what Doraemon had said earlier. "He cares about me." A smile graced the feline's lips, and then she edged away from the door frame before crossing her arms as Doraemon walked out mumbling things about perverted shinobi and how Gatoman was a friend or something like that. The dragon Digimon turned to face Gatoman when he saw his angry expression still there, but left as he saw the smile on her face. "What?" he asked. Gatoman simply leaned forward and Doraemon leaned back as his eyes widened from the close proximity between his and Gatoman's faces. Gatoman, what are you doing?" he asked. Gatoman smirked. "It seems somebody has a soft spot for little old me," she said with a feline smile showing all of her teeth. Doraemon gulped and backed away, slowly. Okay, he said, and then went into the kitchen that was adjoined to the living room and took out a slice of bread from the bread box. However, Gatoman didn't really see the conversation ending, so she climbed up on the counter and crossed her legs and eyes Doraemon, thus making him feel very, very uncomfortable eating his bread. "Gatoman, why are you looking at me like that?" he asked. "Admit it." Doraemon looked confused. "Admit what?" Gatoman sighed and then mumbled something about the stupidity of males. Then again, Digimon aren't designated into genders, but no one really cares anymore, Gatoman thought. Doraemon looked confused as Gatoman jumped off the kitchen counter and walked towards the couch where she began to watch television, thus confusing Doraemon even more. "Admit what? Did I do something wrong?" he thought, and then shook his head before settling himself next to Gatoman and watched the TV with her, and then noticed her glancing at him before pouting, which he thought appeared to be cute, but still confusing. "I will never understand girls," he thought. Meanwhile with Rika. Rika was walking home from school and was looking at the ground. Suddenly she felt as if someone was watching her. "Come on, Rika, there are at least 10 people walking behind you. Why are you so jumpy?" she asked herself. However, the feeling of being watched began to bring a fear in her heart. The phantasmal image of 2 icy blue claws formed behind her, and nobody noticed this. However, just as she turned around, they vanished as quickly as they had appeared. Rika gasped and caused some of the people who were walking behind her to stare at her oddly, but brushed it off and walked past the redhead. Rika then rushed home and passed her grandmother's room. "Ohio Obachan," she called out. Seiko nodded as she drank her tea, knowing Rika would never reply when she would ask how her day was. Rika then went into her room and changed into her regular garb before sitting at the table in her room. What was that? She thought. She then walked outside and walked towards her grandmother. "Obachan?" she asked. The elderly Nanaka woman looked up from the magazine she was reading. "Hi, Rika-chan?" she asked. Rika gulped slightly and looked at her grandmother. "Obachan, do you ever have the feeling that someone is watching you?" she asked. Seiko looked confused. Whatever do you mean, Rika-chan? You mean figuratively or literally? Both actually, the fiery-haired girl replied as she shifted nervously. Seiko seemed to notice her granddaughter's distress and quickly replied, well, if literally, then it could be that someone is following you, and if you ever do, run like hell as if the devil itself were upon you, Seiko said, shocking Rika that her grandmother used a bad word before she continued, but in the figurative sense. There are those that believe spirits are real and they follow us every day to warn us of impending danger or to cause the danger upon whomever they are following. Rika, these feelings are merely psychological attacks on the mind as the brain receives certain impulses due to the senses realizing there is danger nearby, like a sixth sense for danger. Therefore, if you ever feel it, just pray and make sure that the spirit that follows you is the one that aims to protect you. Rika nodded and then turned to leave. Seiko looked at the retreating back of her granddaughter as she turned around the corner. Protect her guardian Kitsune and you as well, if you can, Naruto. Early evening Hypnos HQ. Riley and her assistant were typing furiously on the computer keyboards as they had destroyed numerous wild ones using Yamaki's Yuggoth program, only certain wild ones being able to break free from the digital realm by having enough energy to destroy the Yuggoth program. And such an incident was about to occur now. Riley had managed to spot another wild one appearing in the West Shinjuku area. Yamaki, sir, we got another one, Riley informed her boss. Do what we did to the rest of them, Yamaki said, playing with his cigarette lighter. Riley nodded, but her fingers were getting tired from endless typing. They don't pay me enough for this shit, the red-haired computer tech thought as she pressed the glowing violet button and Yuggoth was deployed. The spiraling circles neared the red dot, but then they noticed what looked like projectiles of data being fired at Yuggoth on the data representation screen, and Yuggoth was destroyed. Sir, Yuggoth has failed. The wild one is bioemerging, Riley announced. Yamaki gritted his teeth together. Kyuso. Meanwhile, somewhere on a random street, Rika was coming back from her walk around town when she felt that eerie chill she felt earlier today. She then performed a small prayer her grandmother had taught her. May I be forever safe in the darkest of nights. May the angel protect with the holy light, and forever may I be in the warm embrace of my guardian angel until I reach death's gates. Rika ended the prayer, but she still felt the presence behind her, like the Arctic wind was blowing through her body. Phantasmal claws, both an ice blue color, formed out of thin air and reached to grab the red head, but at the last second she turned her head and the hands vanished. Rika felt the cold presence leave, but then with a panicked look on her face she took off for home. She reached her house and entered her room and shut the door. She was panting hard from running. Rinamon! She called her partner's name. The yellow fox blurred into existence. Yes, Rika? Rinamon asked. Rika turned with fright evident in her amethyst-shaded eyes, something that surprised the Digimon to no end. Is Rika scared? Rinamon looked as her partner pointed to the door. Rinamon, is there someone out there? She asked. Rinamon shook her head. No. Well, check again, Rika said with a more forceful tone. Rinamon nodded and then slid open the door and looked up and down the hall before closing the door. Rika, there is no one there. Maybe you're seeing things. You've been running all the way home and the exhaustion is making you tired, Rinamon suggested. Rika growled. What, Rinamon, I know what I felt. There's something out there. Rika yelled. Rika, don't worry, I'm here to protect you. Rinamon assured the fiery-haired female. Rika's teeth gritted together as she glared at the blonde fox. I don't need protecting. I don't need you, Rika yelled. Renamon's blue eyes widened. Never in her entire life had she thought Rick could say something so cold to her. The look in her amethyst eyes added salt to the wound. Rika opened the door and stormed out, saying one last thing. I don't need anyone. The door slammed shut and Rinamon stood there still frozen from Rika's outburst before fading out of the room. With Rika ran down the streets of Shinjuku before reaching the subway. She walked throughout the subway to blow off some steam. She probably shouldn't have yelled at Rinamon like that, but she didn't always need protecting. Rika continued to walk and avoiding the many people that walked her way and continued to walk, but then she felt that chilling feeling. The unknown phantasm of two arms appeared again behind her and reached for her body. She reached into her pocket and felt the cloth-wrapped kunai he had given her a few weeks ago, just a few days after they met Gataman. It was a small knife, about half the size of an original kunai, but just as sharp, and was infused with many seals for certain protection measures, including for her own protection. Flashback 1 week ago, nighttime. Rika had just come back from shopping for groceries for her grandmother, and was now heading back home. Upon doing so, she turned a corner and accidentally bumped into someone. Both Rika and the other person fell to the ground along with the groceries, but before they could fall, the unknown person managed to get up and catch the bag before it did so. Gomen Nasai, ha Rika-chan. Rika's eyes widened at the familiar voice. She saw the mop of spiky blonde hair atop the head of the blue-eyed shinobi Tamer. Whiskers? Rika tilted her head in confusion. Naruto handed the bag of groceries back to the red-haired girl, who took them with a nod. Fancy meeting you here, how are things? Naruto asked with a foxy grin. Rika kept up an impassive look and nodded. Fine, she replied. How is Gatamin? Mildly concerned for the feline Digimon. Naruto shrugged. She is okay, I guess. Doraemon has been spending time teaching her how to adjust to the real world, and also we've been helping in explaining the differences between what happens between two individuals when they meet, Naruto explained. Rika and Naruto began to walk towards Rika's house as Rika was heading there, and Naruto was because he knew Rika would ask. How does Gatamin have trouble understanding that? She asked. Naruto grinned sheepishly. Well, you see, Rika-chan, Gatamin has grown up surrounded by beings that want to kill her and absorb her data. Therefore, she has built the instinct to kill anyone that meets her face to face other than myself, you, Rinamon and Doraemon, Naruto said. Furthermore, as a result, she has this strange aura around her, and therefore I have advised Doraemon that she must remain indoors at most times and only allowed to leave during the night when people won't notice a bipedal cat that looks nothing like a dress-up costume walking through town. And because I'm not sure I completely trust Gatamin because of that weird aura. Rika nodded. I see. She remained quiet for most of the time. But as they passed an alleyway, Naruto and Rika were suddenly dragged into the alleyway when two pairs of arms reached out and grabbed them. Naruto and Rika looked out of the corners of their eyes and saw two thugs. Naruto observed their physical build, and based on the tightness of their grip, he guessed the two thugs were about 18 years old. One was slightly taller than the other, but both seemed to be around average build. Their clothes indicated they were doing it for the fun of it, and were not from any broken homes, as they didn't have any extremely ripped or dirty clothes which would indicate a lifetime of living on the streets. Naruto rolled his eyes as one thug held him in a master lock. He's faced a giant snake, a Sannin, another Jinchuriki, and that traitorous team. He could surely handle a common street thief. Meanwhile, the other thug took Rika's groceries and threw them away, only for the two thugs to not hear the sound of the bag falling on the ground. The two 15-year-old thugs slightly turned their heads and saw no one and the bag gone. The thugs shrugged before they pinned the two against the wall. Rika grunted slightly, but Naruto made no sound but glared at the two with his icy blue eyes. Well, look what we have here, the taller of the two thugs said with a snicker as he held down Rika. A cute girl and her blonde baka of a boyfriend. What do you think we should do, Gingo? Take the girl and have some fun? The thug said with a snicker and gaining a perverted gleam in his eyes as he looked over Rika's figure. The thug identified as Gingo smirked. Why not? Ryugo, and take care of the boyfriend, and I'll prepare our guest for the first-class treatment she will receive, Gingo said as he caressed Rika's body. Rika struggled against the man's grip, but it was too strong as he held her by the throat with one hand and was rubbing her sides with the other. Tears of fear of being raped filled her mind. Ryu nodded and then dragged Naruto a few feet away and slammed the blonde against the dumpster there and held out a pocket knife. Seems you're gonna be injured for a while we have some fun with your girlfriend over there, Ryu said. Naruto stood up, but then Ryu punched Naruto in his stomach and kicked him in the face before slamming Naruto's back against the dumpster. Rika's muffled screams reached their ears as Gingo continued to feel her up, waiting for Ryu before they would begin. Ryu then held his knife and aimed for Naruto's chest, but before it could reach, the 18-year-old man found his wrist wrapped in a grip as hard as steel. He tried to yank it free, but his hand refused to budge. Red chakra flowed out of Naruto as his crimson eyes stared into Ryu's green ones. I wouldn't mind if you only came for me, but to rape a 12-year-old girl, especially one who is my friend, that is unforgivable, Naruto growled. Ryu's eyes held fear as Naruto's crimson eyes bore into his soul, the image forever burned into his mind. Please, Didi, don't hurt me. It was all Gingo's idea. Really? Ryu cried in fear. Naruto growled and then snapped Ryu's wrist like a twig before hoisting the man up and slamming him into the wall, and then landed a fist in his stomach. Ryu gasped before he blacked out from the pain. You may live to see another day. Your friend, on the other hand. Red chakra created an aura of fire around Naruto as he neared Gingo, whose grip on Rika was still holding. He was now about to take off the red-haired girl's shirt when another hand came and grabbed it before yanking it away with enough force that Gingo was thrown into a wall. Rika fell and Naruto caught her. Rika-chan, are you okay? He asked. Rika nodded, but noticed Naruto's changed features. Even in the darkness of the alley, mixed with the darkness of the night, she could still see them. His whisker marks, darkened and jagged, his canines lengthened into fangs, his nail became claws, and his once sapphire eyes were now a deep crimson, and a vertical pupil completed the image. And Naruto, you look Naruto held a finger to her lips. Kyuubi may be a demon, but he's a demon with a heart. Besides, I'm in control, so I will not kill these men. Naruto had faced Rika, but neither noticed the silent movement of Gingo moving up a wall. Gingo carefully reached into his pocket and pulled out a gun. Gingo smirked and aimed it at Naruto's revealed back. Gingo smirked and pulled the trigger. The spring in the gun forced the bullet to move from its casing and speed through the barrel at speeds of over 300 meters per second. The mixture of bronze and lead flew through the air, and Naruto turned around in time to see the orange flash as the gun was fired. Rika's eyes widened as Naruto was shot in the back. Rika gasped as Naruto grunted in pain. Whiskers, Naruto, come on, don't die on me. Rika pleaded as Naruto bled from his back. The bullet had reached somewhere near his kidneys. Any nearer, and he would have lost his right kidney. Naruto grunted in pain. Don't worry, I will protect you, just let me and Kyuubi finish this guy, Naruto said. Rika nodded with a tear slowly falling from her eye. Naruto nodded and smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The bullet was suddenly forced out by Kyuubi's yukai, and the wound healed from the near kidney muscle tissue to the skin on his back. Naruto then stood up and cracked his neck and turned to see Gingo standing there in disbelief, and the crimson eyes of one angry cubified Naruto was not something you would want to see in your dreams. No one hurts Rika-chan, Naruto said as he flexed his claws. Gingo fired another bullet, but Naruto's eyes were somehow able to see it coming in slow motion, probably Kyuubi making his adrenaline rush into his brain in order to perceive danger better. Naruto then raised a clawed hand and sliced the bullet in half, the two sides flying off and impacting with the wall and not injuring Rika or him in any way. Naruto continued to walk. Gingo fired shots, but Naruto continued to stop them until he reached Gingo and grabbed the man by his throat and then took the weapon and crushed it with his bare hands. Naruto smiled evilly, but then frowned. I have protected Rika-chan, and you have a family to go to. I will not kill you, but now that I have your scent, pull a stunt like this again and you will find my eyes to be the last thing you see before I crush your throat. Understood? The blonde growled, his eyes seeming to pulse, and Gingo felt a warmth near his crotch. He just pissed his pants. Naruto smirked before throwing Gingo against Ryu, who was still unconscious by the dumpster. Naruto watched the unconscious duo as Kyuubi's yukai left his system. Naruto then turned and helped Rika up. Rika stared in shock, and to Naruto's surprise she jumped at him and enveloped him in a hug and cried into his chest. Rika sobbed, and Naruto, not used to bodily contact, froze. He looked down at the red-haired girl, who was probably traumatized, sobbed into his chest, soaking his shirt. Naruto then slowly returned the embrace, and the two remained like that for a while before Rika finally calmed down. Rika sniffled a bit, and her eyes were slowly changing back from pink to their healthy white. Arigato, Naruto, she whispered. Naruto heard it, and nodded and let the young girl go before he released a sharp whistle and a cage bunshin appeared out of nowhere and dropped down from above with Rika's groceries in hand. You're welcome, Rika-chan. Now come on, I'll walk you home, he said. The two tamers walked for a while until they reached the door that led to Rika's mansion. Well, I'll see you around then, Rika-chan, Naruto said, but Rika quickly shot out a hand and grabbed his arm, causing the blonde to freeze before he turned and faced her. The clone had jumped over the wall and placed the groceries in Rika's room using extreme stealth before poofing out of existence. Yes, Rika-chan? If you're worried about your groceries, don't worry. My cage bunshin just placed it in your room, he asked. Rika looked down and let go of Naruto's arm. Really and truly, arigato, Naruto. I don't even want to think about what would have happened if you hadn't been there, she said. Naruto smirked, and then reached into his pocket and pulled out a kunai knife wrapped in a black cloth. On the kunai's blade were a few seals in deep ocean blue. Here you go, Rika-chan, placing the kunai in one of her other hands. What's this? She asked. This is a special kunai. It has special seals that have a bit of my chakra stored into it. I made it for you. I'm still not finished with Takato's and Henry's. Anyways, if you ever need me, just throw it down on the ground and have the blade, which is made of reinforced iron by the way, will pierce the surface and release a pulse of chakra that will act as a homing beacon as well as a distress call, and I will come get you. Naruto said, I made a promise that I would protect with everything I had, Rika-chan, and I don't go back on my word. Rika held the kunai, and without even thinking she wrapped Naruto in another unexpected hug, which Naruto returned a bit more quickly, but followed by an even more unexpected kiss on the cheek. Rika backed off and smiled slightly as she saw his reaction. Totally and utterly priceless. You're a good friend, Naruto, and with that Rika left, and Naruto turned and left with his hand holding his cheek and a small smirk playing on his face. End flashback. Rika looked at the kunai and was about to throw it away when she became annoyed with the chilling feeling. She turned around with an angry expression on her face. What? She yelled. Two men who were doing nothing but going to walk around her froze and blinked in surprise before looking at her confusedly. She sighed and Rika turned to the stairs so she could go home, but it was at the stairs she saw the ghostly image of a Digimon. Rika gasped and followed the phantasm before going up the stairs and looked around. She saw nobody. Come out, I know you're here, she demanded. Rika sighed, but then two arms appeared from behind her with two large clawed hands. Its right hand wrapped around her waist, the other around her mouth. However, before Rika could be peeled through the wall, she managed to grab her special kunai from Naruto, and then threw down with enough force that it stuck itself into the floor. A blue glow came from the blade as Rika was pulled into the wall. The glow grew brighter before a large pulse of blue chakra exploded from the kunai and spread throughout Shinjuku. With Rinamon. Rinamon was sitting on the branch of a large tree staring at the silvery white moon with a far-off look in her eyes. Then as she stared she felt a tingle flow across her very being and an itch in the back of her mind that told her one thing. Rika was in trouble. Rika, she thought and got, but froze as she remembered Rika's words. Flashback. I don't need protecting. I don't need you, Rika yelled. Renamon's blue eyes widened. Never in her entire life had she thought Rick could say something so cold to her. The look in her amethyst eyes added salt to the wound. Rika opened the door and stormed out saying one last thing. I don't need anyone. The door slammed shut and Rinamon stood there still frozen from Rika's outburst before fading out of the room. End flashback. With Naruto. Naruto was sitting on the couch in his usual attire and got up to go and get Doraemon and Gatomon for a little patrolling. But he then froze as he felt a pulse of chakra enter his system, and that meant one thing. Rika-chan. He then saw Gatomon and Doraemon sitting on the floor playing a game of Go Fish. Guys, get up. We have to go, he said with urgency. Doraemon and Gatomon looked confused and laid down their cards and got up. Why, are we going patrolling again? Doraemon asked with a hint of joy in his eyes. Not now, Doraemon. Rika-chan needs help now, hurry up, Naruto said. Doraemon and Gatomon ran with Naruto to the roof of the apartment before taking long jumps as they jumped from rooftop to rooftop. Naruto, do you know where we're going? Doraemon yelled as the wind blew past their ears as they roof hopped. No, but I have a feeling I know where Rika-chan is, he said. So we're going in a direction based on a hunch? Gatomon asked. No, you see, I gave Rika a kunai that was stored with special seals to allow my chakra to be temporarily stored in the blade, and when it makes hard enough contact with the surface it will cause the seals to release my chakra. This was to allow me to know when the other tamers were in need of help, and the kunai would act as a homing beacon, Naruto explained. But then he caught sight of what they were looking for. Naruto, Doraemon and Gatomon stood atop a roof and saw a large ice wall surrounding most of the upper portion and some of the roof area of a building which came up from underneath the ground, probably from the subway, the blonde thought. The shinobi tamer then dropped down on the ground, pumping chakra into his legs as Doraemon and Gatomon landed lightly on his shoulders. People who saw the Naruto land couldn't get a good look at him because of the smoke produced from his landing and also the fact that he took off, leaving behind a flash of gold as he raced towards the building. We're going to crash, Gatomon yelled. Naruto smirked before petting Gatomon's head. Have faith in me, he stated before planting one foot on the side of the building and then another before he began to running up the wall, fascinating even more of the people who saw him going perfectly up the side of the building. Luckily his speed at the height he was at caused people to now know who he was or what he looked like. Naruto then reached the area of the building that was iced over before forming a Rasengan and began to shred through the extremely thick spiky ice wall. With Rika. Rika found herself in some kind of blue void that seemed to be made out of ice, causing her to shiver with her arms wrapped around herself, it's so cold. A figure then slowly emerged out of the ground behind her that turned out to be a Digimon. The Digimon was ice blue and had glowing crimson eyes, with arms that nearly touched the ground due to their length. Torn and weathered-looking wings of a similar ice were attached to his back. A skull-like pattern was on his right kneecap, and his arms along with most of his lower body was wrapped in a combination of belts and bandages. A large magenta-colored bat symbol was displayed on his chest and left boot. The Digimon then quickly wrapped his battered-looking wings around Ruki, causing her to let out a gasp. The Digimon lifted her off her feet before looking down at her. Welcome to my humble abode, Rika just asked without looking at the ice devil. Are you a Digimon? Yes, Rika then asked. So this is a digital field? Releasing a chuckle, the Digimon just looked around before looking back down at Rika. Exactly. Beautiful, isn't it? It suits you perfectly. Rika just looks down at the ground. It suits me? A small grin appears on the Demon of Ice's face as he looks down at Rika. The way you treat people. How you think you're cold as ice. You have no time for warm, weak relationship. You always expect perfection from yourself and others, you demand it. Rika just absent-mindedly nodded her head before Ice Devilman continued, I'm the only one who understands you, Rika. That is why we are destined to become partners. Rika, still looking at the ground, just says, partners? Us? Yes. No, I can't. I already have a partner. Rinamon. Rika finishes by looking over to the side. Rucky moved her hand over her Digivice just before the Ice Devil placed his hand over hers. I want to show you something. Rucky just said half-heartedly, what is it? The unknown Digimon just looked back down at Rika. To prove I'm worthy of being your partner, I've set up a little show and tell, so you can see my power for yourself. Ice Devilman then spread his wings out as ice pillars formed all around the area. Each pillar of ice had a Digimon frozen in it. For years I have hunted hundreds of Digimon and absorbed their data. They were friends to some, maybe even partners. Rika's eyes widened hearing this before he continued, but as you once said, they are merely stepping stones. Rucky just looked around at the Digimon trapped within the pillars of ice. I never said that. A smirk soon revealed itself to be on the Digimon's face. But you did. I fight to Digivolve, you make your Digimon do the exact same thing. Rika just seemed to freeze before saying, no, I couldn't see it before, but there's more to Digimon than just fighting. I would eat dirt before I ever let Rinamon become what you are. A monster. The Digimon's smirk just seemed to widen at this. Better a powerful monster than a weak nobody. However, before he could say more, the wall was suddenly blown apart, and a large smoke cloud formed along with the scattering of ice particles. Let Rika go, you demonic ice bastard, a voice growled from the smoke cloud. The two stared at the smoke cloud before it cleared, and Rika's eyes widened as she saw who her savior was. Whiskers, Naruto, she thought with shock. Beside him stood Gataman and Doraemon, both growling in rage. Another Tamer, but you seem different, stronger than Rika here. Mind taking up my offer to be my Tamer, the Digimon said. Naruto's eyes flashed red and he growled. Not on your life, Naruto said as he took out his Democrat Arkansas and scanned the Digimon of Ice. Ice Devilman, champion level. He is a sadistic mass murderer, delighting in the pain he deals on others and relentlessly killing without mercy. His attacks are Frozen Claw, Avalanche Claw and Tundra Freeze. Naruto read. Ice Devilman chuckled. Fine then, your life it is then. Well, remember this and remember it well, team. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze never goes down without a fight. The shinobi Tamer then took out a kunai and threw it at Ice Devilman, whose eyes glowed sapphire. Tundra Freeze! A beam of blue rocketed from Ice Devilman's eyes and froze the kunai solid in midair, including the flame which was burning a concealed explosive note. Gataman, we don't want you to get involved in this. This is mine and Doraemon's fight now, Naruto growled. Gataman was about to come back with a retort, but saw the looks in their eyes and then looked at the red-haired girl and just realized something. With the addition of Rika into this fight became personal for Naruto, the feline Digimon thought, and then backed away. Naruto and Doraemon raced towards the Ice Digimon, but Ice Devilman threw Rika to the side and the girl crashed against the hard wall, eliciting a scream of pain from the 12-year-old female Tamer. Naruto growled again and then flashed through hand signs. Katan, Gakakyu no Jutsu! He yelled and a large fireball flew from his mouth. Ice Devilman quickly avoided it, but his eyes widened as he saw Doraemon in his face. Metal shoot! And multiple spheres of steel rocketed towards Ice Devilman. Ice Devilman flew up and avoided the barrage of steel, and then his left hand glowed a dark blue. Frozen Claw! Doraemon quickly dodged the attacks and then he saw one attack coming directly at him, but Naruto appeared above the arm and laced a kunai with wind chakra before letting it loose. The kunai impaled Ice Devilman's hand and caused him to scream out in pain. You human filth! I'll destroy you! The Ice Devil roared as he removed the kunai from his hand and crushed it as it froze over from his touch. Outside the building, Takato and Henry along with Terriermon and Gilman were watching up at the large building with ice covering its upper structure. So Henry, any words of advice? Takato asked. Yeah, Henry replied, putting on his shades as Takato brought down his goggles. Don't get tired going up these stairs. As they entered the building and began to climb the multitude of literal stepping stones, Naruto and Doraemon dodged the many flying ice projectiles from Ice Devilman's avalanche claw. Naruto then grabbed Doraemon and spun before throwing him. The dragon Digimon opened his maw and fired multiple metal balls at the Ice Devil. However, the enemy Digimon avoided them before grabbing Doraemon in mid-flight and then throwing him downwards. Doraemon impacted with the hard ice floor, and then Ice Devilman slammed down on Doraemon's smaller body. You team both Tamer and Digimon said. Ice Devilman chuckled as he flew off of Doraemon, who was getting up. Naruto then channeled chakra into his feet and took off for Ice Devilman, but the champion Digimon was able to track Naruto's speed and grabbed Naruto around the throat as he reached him. Ice Devilman smirked before slamming Naruto into the walls, then the ceiling, and then the floor. Then his claws glowed blue. Frozen Claw! The Ice Devil slashed at Naruto and Doraemon, sending them both to the ground. Naruto was slashed on his right arm, but he tried to dodge the second strike. But Ice Devilman struck out with the same hand used to injure Naruto and slashed through Naruto's shirt, and caused his side to release the red liquid of life. He formed a Rasengan and rushed Ice Devilman, but the Demon of Ice quickly grabbed Naruto's wrist and slammed Naruto onto the ground before holding him up and slashing him multiple times on the stomach and arms and legs. Doraemon tried to save his partner, but received the same treatment as Ice Devilman. Doraemon was hit with a powerful uppercut before the power of the attack sent him skyward, and then Ice Devilman attacked with his frozen claws, causing Doraemon to become injured and fall to the ground beside his tamer. Naruto was bleeding from his chest and arms from the numerous cuts that Kyuubi was now working to heal. He then held both Naruto and Doraemon, and his eyes glowed as he prepared to freeze them solid. "Say goodbye, boys," the champion Digimon said. Naruto's eyes then flashed red and he grabbed Ice Devilman, causing Ice Devilman to burn somewhat from the Kyuubi's Yukai. The Yukai left, and then Naruto and Doraemon freed themselves before rushing Ice Devilman. Ice Devilman growled before avoiding a headbutt from Doraemon and then punching Doraemon in the snout. The Dragon Digimon was then grabbed by his throat and thrown into a wall. Naruto aimed a punch at Ice Devilman, but the champion Digimon dodged it and aimed a kick to Naruto's head, but Naruto ducked and then landed an uppercut to the chin. Naruto then grabbed Ice Devilman's throat and punched him repeatedly in the face before kicking off his chest before running in a beeline, and a roundhouse kick found its way into Ice Devilman's stomach. The Digimon was sent flying back, but by spreading out his wings he stopped his movement before going back towards Naruto, and then shoulder tackled the blonde, sending him crashing into the wall near his partner. It was at this time that Takato and Henry entered the room. "What the, Naruto?" the four cried out. They then turned to Ice Devilman. "You monster," Takato growled. Ice Devilman chuckled. "Why, thank you, taking the insult as a compliment." "Take him down," Takato cried out as he drew a card. Both Gilman and Terriermon rushed forward to do battle with the Ice Digimon, but then two blue beams shot forth from his eyes. "Tundra Freeze!" Ice Devilman yelled, and the attack froze the two rookie Digimon solid. "No, Gilman/Terriermon!" The two tamers cried as they tried to free their Digimon. "Digimodify, Heat Activate!" Henry yelled, but the modification did nothing. Rika looked at the damaged Naruto and Doraemon, and saw Gataman looking in horror at the Ice Demon. "Rika, where is Renamon?" Henry asked as he tried to break the ice with a nearby rock. Rika's eyes dropped. "She's not coming. She wouldn't even if I told her to," Rika said with a somber tone. However, the ceiling blew open and there stood the blonde and white-furred fox herself. "Speak of the devil, Renamon!" the two young male tamers yelled. Renamon said nothing and then charged forward at Ice Devilman. "Power Paw!" she yelled as his paws were surrounded by ghostly blue flames. The fists and feet flew from all angles, but Ice Devilman dodged them all. "Frozen Claw!" The Ice Demon Digimon yelled and then struck out with his attack, striking Renamon in the stomach and then the solar plexus, followed up with two strikes to the neck and then one to the face. Renamon gasped as she fell to her knees at the might of Ice Devilman. Rika stared with shock and sorrow towards Renamon. Ice Devilman looked over his shoulder. "Why do you look at this failure of a Digimon with that look?" Ice Devilman asked. "Because she's my friend," she whispered. "Renamon's my friend." Digivolution. Renamon was ensconced in a blue egg of data and her skin peeled away to show her larger, stronger form beneath a wire frame pattern. Skin then reattached itself to give form to the champion level of Renamon. The egg then exploded as Renamon's form changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of one tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Cubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. "Cubimon, so you can digivolve, maybe now I can have a challenge," Ice Devilman commented and made a come motion with his hand. Cubimon growled and spread out her tails, each one alight with blue fireballs. "Foxtail Inferno!" The 9-tailed fox Digimon yelled and then 9 fireballs flew towards Ice Devilman, but he dodged by flying up. "Where are you going, Frosty?" she asked. Cubimon then jumped and spun in the air, surrounding herself with fire. The blue flames then took the form of a roaring serpentine dragon. Dragon wheel! The fire dragon roared as it flew towards its target, but Ice Devimon's eyes glowed blue. Tundra freeze! He yelled, and the fire dragon froze before it was shattered by Ice Devimon's fist. Ice Devimon flew down and crashed into Cubimon by planting a foot in her face before punching the fox in her throat, stifling her scream. He then threw her upwards and flapped his broken-looking wings. Avalanche claw! Icicle spike flew from his wings and impacted with the fox Digimon and sent her to the ground. Cubimon fell and struggled to get back up and failed. Henry got an idea and swiped a card. Digimodify, expansion activate. He yelled, and Terrierman's body bloated up and cracks formed as pressure built up in the ice and caused it to crack into small pieces. Should we go attack? Takato asked. Henry shook his head and pointed to the standing Naruto and Doraemon. This is their fight, Takato. Ice Devimon chuckled as he watched the nine-tailed Digimon. However, he was caught off guard by a cry of, "Metal shoot!" Metal spheres impacted with Ice Devimon's body, sending the Digimon stumbling forwards. Katan, Kata Bakufu no Jutsu! A large explosion of fire struck Ice Devimon in his back. Then Doraemon ran forward with a burst of speed. Digimodify, Flamedramon activate. Naruto swiped the card and Doraemon erupted into flames and then crashed down onto Ice Devimon. The Ice Champion Digimon turned and saw the duo still standing. Naruto then rushed forwards and ducked underneath a counter swipe from Ice Devimon's frozen claw before charging wind chakra into his fist, forming a miniature tornado around his fist, and slammed it into Ice Devimon's stomach, causing the Digimon to be cut. Then Naruto grabbed Ice Devimon by his throat and brought the Digimon's face hard upon his knee before forming a cross-shaped hand sign. Kagebunshin no Jutsu! He yelled. Naruto and Doraemon then got a boost from the clones and went high up to the ceiling. And Naruto, the clone, kicked Ice Devimon in the face with enough force to sending him upwards. Naruto then formed a Rasengan and Doraemon flew back down headfirst using Hyper Dash Metal. Uzumaki Rasengan Randan / Naruto Uzumaki Spiraling Metal Barrage. The attack struck home and Ice Devimon was hit. However, as the Ice Digimon hit the floor, a large purple light enveloped Ice Devimon. Naruto and Doraemon landed on the ground and saw the Ice Devil obtain the violet digital hazard sign in the middle of his chest over the bat sign. Naruto then spied Gilman and looked at the digital hazard symbol. They're the same, but Gilman is good, I can tell. The digital hazard, what other Digimon possess the digital hazard sign? Find that and I find the master, Naruto thought. Ice Devimon suddenly rose back up and his eyes became a darker shade of magenta mixed with purple. The master will destroy you. Your power is growing too great, and if the master breaks free you will manage to stop him. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and Doraemon, prepare to be eradicated. Ice Devimon roared and then his eyes glowed blue and purple. Black ice! He yelled. A dark blue beam, so dark that it appeared in ebony color, flew from Ice Devimon's eyes, and although Naruto was able to dodge it, Doraemon was too tired to do the same, and he was suddenly encased in opaque black ice. Naruto's eyes, along with everyone else's, looked in shock as their most powerful rookie Digimon became encased in black ice. Hee, the Doraemon is defeated. Now for you, Uzumaki, Ice Devimon growled. Gatomon suddenly appeared in front of Naruto and Doraemon. I won't let you hurt them, the feline hissed. Ice Devimon growled and Gatomon rushed forward with her paws glowing white. Lightning Paw! Frozen Claw! Frozen Claw and Lightning Paw engaged in a duel to become the victor, each blow matching the other as they clashed against one another, causing small booms to be heard from their impact. However, Gatomon got tired from the 20 minutes of constant punching and was left wide open before Ice Devimon SWNG, and his claws tore at her, sending Gatomon flying and slamming against the black ice. Gatomon slid down the ice and Doraemon's frozen form. Although they couldn't see it, his form shook slightly. Stupid feline, he growled and flexed his claws. Ice Devimon walked towards the downed kitten. No, I will not let you hurt her. Naruto growled, his eyes flashing red. The blonde stood up and got into a fighting stance. You've taken Doraemon from me, but I will not let you hurt the one Digimon friend he actually sees as a true friend, and I will not let you damage Doraemon and Emery, Doraemon! Naruto roared. The black ice prison rocked back and forth before cracks formed from white light formed and light from Naruto's Democrat Arkansas formed too. Gatomon and everyone else looked in surprise at the light's intensity. Doraemon stood there, free from the ice prison and surrounded by an aura of shining light. Naruto, arigato, Doraemon said. We're partners, no? Naruto paused. We're brothers and we stick out for each other, Naruto said as he withdrew a card from his card pack in his card case. Doraemon nodded. Then let's show this ice freak what us brothers can do. Naruto and Doraemon yelled simultaneously. Naruto's card, the Digivolution card, glowed before he slashed it through the Democrat Arkansas. Digimodify, Digivolution activate, Digivolution. Doraemon's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Doraemon Digivolve 2. Doraemon's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Doraemon's champion form. A large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Growlmon, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area, hands, feet, wrists, and ankles, along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface, lay in the center of its forehead. Darugamon! Everyone stared in awe at the large dragon Digimon. Darugamon! Naruto smiled. Finally, Digivolution has been achieved. Darugamon growled at the Ice Devilman. Ice Devilman growled back. You think Digivolution can help you? Well, think again, Black Ice. The Black Ice encased Darugamon, but a deafening bestial roar sounded from the Black Ice prison before it cracked and Darugamon freed himself. Your attack have no effect on me again, Team Darugamon said, and his tail swished through the air. Darugamon then floated above the floor as he flapped his massive wings and then took off and slammed into Ice Devilman. Ice Devilman was sent into a wall before Darugamon grabbed the Ice Digimon and slammed him into the ground. Darugamon roared and bit down on the smaller champion's wings. Darugamon's pupils turned slitted. This is for hurting my students and friends. He removed one wing with a bit of pulling using his strong neck and jaw muscles. This is for hurting my brother. Darugamon then removed the other broken-like wing, and it shattered like ice as he crushed it and ate the data that made the wing. And this is for hurting Gataman. He then grabbed Ice Devilman and threw him through the wall where Rika was. Rika ducked and watched as Ice Devilman slammed into the wall and made an Ice Devilman imprint. Darugamon then opened his jaws and a large ball of steel and energy formed. The steel sphere crackled with red, blue, and violet energy bolts before he fired it. Power metal! The metallic projectile struck Ice Devilman and caused a large explosion as Ice Devilman was deleted for good, but the explosion resulted in a large hole forming in the wall, and since Rika was near and the wind blowing so fiercely, she fell. Naruto and Darugamon's eyes widened. Naruto quickly pumped chakra into his feet and ran to the edge and jumped towards Rika's falling form. Naruto quickly formed a cross-shaped hand sign, Kagebunshin no Jutsu. He yelled, and then a perfect copy of himself formed in a puff of smoke. People from below, who had chosen to look up, saw Rika falling and a blonde boy falling after her. Naruto had the clone throw him, and he built up velocity and shot forth like a pinball. After being launched, he then grabbed Rika, who was still full of fear. Naruto, are you insane? She cried. Hey, remember what I told you? I'll always be there to protect you, Rika-chan, Naruto said with a foxy grin. Rika blushed at that, but then she noticed Naruto's eyes go from kind and sincere to serious, as he righted himself, as he held her bridal style as they were falling. Darugamon! He called out, and then the ebony dragon flew underneath them, and they landed safely on his back, and the people below couldn't believe their eyes, and knowing they could not tell anyone about what they just saw because everyone would think they were crazy. I really need to stop taking Vicodin, an old man said as he walked away with his cane by his side. Darugamon flew back up to the roof and saw Takato, Henry, Terriermon, Gilman, who was holding an unconscious Gataman, meaning she didn't hear what Darugamon had said when he dealt the final blow to Ice Devilman. Cubamon was waiting there as well, but far off from the other. Rika looked at what just occurred. Her Digimon nearly died at the hands of another, and Naruto and Doraemon would have also died by the hands of that frozen bastard. She suddenly felt a bubbling rage. The rage soon exploded, and it became a hate towards not only Ice Devilman, but, I hate them, she whispered. Well, don't worry, Rika, he's gone now, Takato said. Oh, come guys, don't be like that, Takato said, trying to calm the situation. But the two females turned away from each other. Cubimon took to the roofs while Rika walked downstairs and headed home. The males all looked at each other and said one thing. I will never understand women. The guys then nodded goodbye to each other. Terriermon and Henry, along with Takato and Gilman, took the stairs down to go home. Naruto climbed on Darugamon's back, holding Gataman in his arms as Darugamon flapped his wings and took off. As Darugumon flew through the air with Naruto and Gataman, he let out one loud monstrous roar of triumph to signify his victory over Ice Devilman. Chapter 9. The Sins of the World. Rika was walking through town with her hands in her pockets as she thought about some things. What the hell is up with digivolving? It's like anybody could do it these days, she thought. Flashback. Digivolution. Terrierman Digivolve 2. Terrierman's skin peeled away to reveal a large green rabbit covered in wireframe pattern, or blue squares for a simpler term. The skin then reattached itself as Terrierman's body grew into that of a larger rabbit. His face and ears were entirely green, the edge of the ears, the body and muzzle of Gargamon being a tan color. A red diamond lay in the center of the champion level's forehead. 2 red slash-like markings were on Gargamon's cheeks. His hands were replaced with Gatling guns. A string of ammunition was strapped across the trigger Happy Bunny's chest, and he wore a pair of navy blue jeans. Gargamon. Then Gogglehead was able to digivolve that little dinosaur of his. Flashback. Gilman digivolved to Growlman. Growlmon roared as he snorted flames through his nostrils. Growlmon was a large version of Gilman, except the ears were now like spikes and 2 blade-like protrusion came from his elbows, and Gilman seemed to look a lot more reptilian looking with a mane of silver-white hair growing from the back of his head. Black band-like patterns with digicode on them were shown on his legs, forearms and around the thick part of his tail. The 0 unit was emblazoned on his feet and hands, while the digital hazard symbol was located on his left shoulder. And flashback. Renamon was able to do it also. Flashback. Digivolution. Renamon digivolved to Cubimon. Renamon's form changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of 1 tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Cubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs, and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. And flashback. And finally Whiskers. But he was able to use his Digivolution card was her final thought on the matter. Flashback. Digivolution. Doraemon's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Doraemon digivolved to. Doraemon's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Doraemon's champion form. A large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Growlmon, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area, hands, feet, wrists and ankles, along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface lay in the center of its forehead. Darugumon. And flashback. Rika continued to walk before snorting in annoyance. Who cares? Digimon are nothing but data. I don't need Renamon to protect me. The red-haired preteen continued to walk along the road until she nearly tripped over something. She looked down and saw a white little rabbit-looking creature with large ears that were trimmed in purple and looked up at her with its big green eyes. Calumet? Rika raised her eyebrow in confusion. The little cream-puffed Digimon smiled, Haya, and then latched onto Rika's face, which she thoroughly yanked him off of. The two stared at each other for a while. That is, until Rika and Calumet heard a small commotion going on in front of them. There were a few people who were standing in front of a building and mumbling quite loudly to themselves as they looked at a young brown-haired woman. It was Rika's mother, Makino Nanaka. The older woman spied her daughter and smiled before walking over to her. "Rika!" Makino yelled out as she stopped in front of her. "Oka-chan, why are you here?" Rika asked. "I thought you had a photo shoot in Milan." Makino smiled. "Nah, I finished that earlier today, so I came back home to visit you and Oka-chan," Makino said. "Oh, by the way, how is that blonde you've been seeing? Naruto, I think his name was." Rika scowled. "I'm not together with him," Rika growled, unknown to the fact that people were looking back and forth between her mother and the large posters of the woman on the side of the building they were in front of. "And besides, I could care less about how he is." Makino frowned. "That's not very nice, Rika. Anyways, I have some new clothes for you. They are just the cutest. Do you want to see them?" she asked with hopeful eyes. Rika held Calumet and looked at her mother's eyes that held that pleading look they always did when she wanted her to wear those goofy clothes. No, she said flatly and then turned away. Makino frowned. Mateo, Rika. Rika paused and turned around. I like your stuffed toy. It looks very cute, Makino said. Rika sighed and turned away before walking. She raised Calumet up to eye level and stared into his overly large green eyes. You just had to be cute, didn't you? She asked. It's all part of the job, Rika, Calumet said with a giggle. Rika held back a growl before heading for home, with Naruto and Doraemon. Come on guys, my Oba-chan was able to run faster than you. The blonde Jinchuriki called out as he watched Takato and Henry run around the park as their end of training exercise. After doing 100 push-ups, sit-ups and jumping jacks followed by 3 hours of sparring. Gilman, Terrierman, you're lagging behind, come on, you're not going to lose and running to some humans, are you? Doraemon yelled, giving his torture victims, I mean friends, some pep talk. The Digimon nodded and began to put on a burst of speed, leaving behind a trail of dust as they passed their tamers. Naruto and Doraemon were running alongside Takato and Henry, who were beginning to tire out. Alright, we'll call it a day, guys, Naruto sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. The two tamers stopped along with their Digimon before they went over to a nice shady tree to rest. Naruto and Doraemon sat down on the grassy area that was shaded by the tree's foliage. So Naruto? Takato asked after taking a gulp of the water he had brought. Naruto looked at the goggle-wearing tamer in response. Yeah? Where is that other Digimon that was with you? Takato asked. Yeah, come to think of it, I saw another Digimon with you too. It looked like a cat, Henry added. Terriermon and Gilman were also wondering about the mystery Digimon. Doraemon and Naruto looked at each other. So they thought. What other Digimon? Maybe it was one of those Digimon imprisoned in ice by Ice Devilman that you saw, Naruto said, coming up with the excuse. Takato and Henry looked at each other. No, this one was not in ice, and I remember you had it in your arms when you were leaving. It was late, you're probably seeing things, Doraemon piped in. Henry scowled. Are you guys hiding something from us because you sound like you are? Henry said. Yeah, Narutomon, Doraemon. I wanna know, Gilman whined. Maybe it's a Digimon that Naruto was going to use to replace Doraemon, Terriermon said. Terriermon! Henry exclaimed. Everyone's eyes widened as a pulse of killing intent filled their little area. The blue-eyed tamer stood to his full height of 5 feet, 5 inches, which towered over the little 2-foot-tall Terriermon, who was shaking in fear as Naruto's eyes flashed red. Momenti, Terriermon managed to gasp out, but the killing intent seemed to intensify. Never. Joke about that, the blonde growled. Doraemon is my partner and a brother to me, and I wouldn't give him up for any other Digimon in the digital world. Make that joke again and I'll make sure Doraemon increases your training to near unfathomable. Terriermon gulped and nodded before the killing intent left. So as I was about to say, you guys are probably seeing things. It was late, and you had just come out of a fight. There was no other Digimon there, Naruto said. Doraemon stood up and the duo left. Takato and Henry looked at their Digimon and then got up to leave. I know I saw something. There was another Digimon there, Henry thought as he went back to his apartment. Why is Naruto being so nervous around the topic about this other Digimon? Maybe we shouldn't press on about it, Takato thought. But the two young tamers thought the same thing, although they were apart. I will find out what's going on with Naruto. Naruto and Doraemon were walking through the streets of Shinjuku. Naruto had his hands shoved in his pockets, his sapphire orbs glazing over as he was in deep thought. The dragon Digimon looked concerned for his tamer and poked Naruto with a claw. A penny for your thoughts? Doraemon asked. Naruto sighed as he shifted his gaze skyward and looked at the white clouds that floated aimlessly in the endless blue void. Just thinking about some things, Naruto said. Is it about Gataman? Doraemon asked. Naruto shook his head, and that left Doraemon with only one option left. Rika, so what is it about Ms. Nanaka that's troubling you? Doraemon asked. Naruto smirked before frowning. It's what she said last night after our fight with Ice Devilman. She said she hates all Digimon, the teenage tamer said. I see, and you want to find out how to get her and Renamon back together? The purple-furred lizard added. Naruto looked down at his brother. It's like you read my mind, the blonde said. Doraemon shrugged. Hey, I'm your partner, I'm supposed to, he said. Well, I'm going to pay her a visit. Go and see if you can find Renamon, and if you can't, go back to the apartment and watch over Gataman, Naruto instructed. Doraemon nodded and the two went their separate ways. Rika's house. Rika was sitting on her floor staring at the blue Democrat Arkansas in her hand along with the deck of Digimon cards. Digimon, pfft, such a waste of my time, Rika thought, and then she walked over to the trash bin in her room and dumped the Democrat Arkansas in it before going outside. She walked along the walkway around her house. Seiko watched her granddaughter. Rika was beginning to open up before, but now, She was going back to becoming as distant as she was before. Rika-chan? Seiko asked. The fiery-haired girl looked up from the ground and looked at her grandmother. Hi, Oba-chan. Are you okay? You've been awfully quiet, and I was wondering if there was anything wrong? The elderly woman asked. Rika shook her head. No, it's nothing. Are you sure? Something at school maybe? Or maybe it's that Digimon thing you've been doing all the time? Seiko asked. Rika's eyes widened minutely, but she made sure it wasn't noticeable to her grandmother's ever-watchful eyes. The violet-eyed Tamer shook her head. I said I'm fine, Oba-chan. Rika sighed. I just need some space, okay? Rika then took off and went to the little pond in the yard. She stood on the bridge and watched as the koi fish swam in an everlasting dance, the two koi swirling in a circle in the mildly deep waters. Rika's eyes then perceived the image to be similar to that of the markings on Reneman's legs. The two violet tomo, but Rika shook her head and rubbed her eyes as she glanced back at the koi fish. The image was gone. Now we both know that's a lie, Rika-chan, a voice said. Rika turned in surprise and saw the blonde Tamer leaning up against a tree. What are you doing here, Whiskers? She asked, rolling her eyes. Naruto reached into his weapons pouch and pulled out the kunai he had given her. You left in such a hurry that you forgot this, he said, handing her the weapon. Rika looked at the kunai knife and shoved Naruto's hand aside. I don't need that useless weapon. I don't need protection, Rika growled. Naruto glared in Rika's own violet eyes. He had much more experience in the art that was glaring and stared her down until she folded. The red-haired Tamer sat down on the small bridge that was above the large koi pond. I'm confused, she stated. Naruto sighed and sat down next to her. Aren't we all? I don't know what to do anymore. I've always had Renamon with me to help me with tough decision, but now, she's gone and I can't bring her back. SHR turned to the older boy sitting next to her. What should I do? Naruto looked up at the sky and shrugged. Rika-chan, there are times when people will not always be there to help you make tough decisions. Rika looked confused at his reply, but didn't say anything as he continued. Take me for instance. I've been alone my entire life. I am used to having to make these decisions, but you, Rika-chan, have been around people who help you with these decisions. Naruto took out the kunai and took her hand. Rika blushed slightly at the contact, but it faded as he placed the ebony weapon in her grasp. Now is the time when you must make your own decisions, Rika-chan. You're a strong, smart, and quick-thinking girl, one of the people that I've come to trust in this world. Naruto paused before standing to his feet and stepped off the bridge, amazing Rika as he stood there on the water's surface. Weapons like that kunai can be used to protect or destroy, Rika-chan. Rika-chan, you will make a decision, protect or destroy, and when the time comes. Naruto smirked, and then he heard footsteps approaching and made the hand sign for Ram. The wind began to swirl around him and leaves appeared out of nowhere in the miniature gust of air. What do I have to do when the time comes, Whiskers? She asked. Naruto showed his famous foxy grin to the red-haired Tamer. When the time comes, you'll know what to do, and then with a wink he left in a swirl of wind and leaves. It was then that Makino stepped through the door and looked to see her daughter standing near the pond staring at the koi fish, not aware that the blonde shinobi was present just a few seconds ago. The brown-haired woman sighed and shook her head. I am never going to understand my daughter, and then she turned back to go inside. Rika looked at the kunai knife in her hand, as if examining it with great detail. What do I do with Doraemon? Doraemon was running around looking for the blonde fox. He had caught on to the Digimon's scent. Dear sovereigns, why does she have to be so far away? He glanced at the sky and saw the blue shade disappearing as shades of red, yellow, and pink bled into a mixture of color in the sky. And it's already sunset. Doraemon sighed in relief as he saw the fox Digimon standing atop the banister of a nearby billboard. But it was what was a few feet in front of Renamon that intrigued him. Oh, for the love of all that is mischievous and handsome as me, quit following me, fox-faced, the ever-annoying voice of Impmon proclaimed. Renamon stopped walking along the banister as she followed the little Digimon. I've noticed that you always seem to be alone, and you never have a tamer. Yet you've survived for this long, Renamon inquired. Impmon growled. Hey, I got through my life here in this pathetic world by my smarts. Doraemon snickered from below. And the strength that I have. Well, I have a question for you, the fox Digimon said. Impmon's non-existent eyebrow rose in confusion. You freaking followed me around for a few hours just to ask me a question? Renamon nodded in confirmation. Hi, and being without a tamer I have come to you for advice. So I see you finally got that mumbo-jumbo about tamers and partners all out of your little noggin etudes. So what is this question that you've been wanting to ask me? The scarf-wearing Digimon said. How do I become stronger without a tamer? I've always had Rika by my side throughout my entire life here, and now I don't know what to do, Renamon said. Impmon shrugged. Well, what the hell do I care? But if it means that much to you, all I can say is that you don't need that snot-nosed gaki of a Tamer. She's been the one dragging you down all this time. She has never fought in her entire life, always thinking you'll be there to take the fall whenever she's in trouble. Now that blonde Tamer, Fox Boy, now that's a Tamer. He fights alongside his Digimon, not that I have a particular liking to the gaki, but at least he can fight, Impmon said. Doraemon and Renamon seemed to be surprised by the sudden inclusion of Naruto in the conversation. I see Naruto has developed a follower, the dragon Digimon thought with a smirk. So you're telling me that Rika is a hindrance to me? The blonde fox asked. Impmon nodded. Hi, but I need her in order to digivolve. How do I get the power to that without Rika? I don't give a ratman's ass, Impmon said, and then turned to leave. Mateo, Impmon, answer me. Renamon pleaded. Impmon growled in frustration. I don't know, Foxface, maybe you've had the power inside all along, and you just need to draw on it somehow. I don't give fuck, now leave me alone. The imp Digimon leaped away, leaving the fox Digimon alone. Or so she thought. So, going to the little puppy kicker for advice? Renamon turned in surprise as she saw Doraemon standing behind her. I didn't even sense his presence, she thought as her glacial blue eyes stared at the old interface Digimon. If you're wondering how you weren't able to sense me, it's because of the stealth training I've been given from Naruto, the orange-eyed Digimon stated. And no, I cannot read your mind. Your facial expression gives away what you are thinking. Renamon nodded, but she couldn't help but doubt the shorter Digimon's words of not being able to read minds. Yes, Impmon has been without a tamer from what I've seen. He was the only one I can think of, for a lack of a worse term. Guidance, Renamon said with a sigh. Doraemon nodded. I see. Well, are you going to leave Rika for good? Renamon shrugged as her digital brain was blank, an answer not arising from the depths of her digital cerebrum. I believe I should, but I have this feeling of doubt within me, Renamon said. The orange-eyed dragon observed his fellow digital monster's expressions. Well, there are times when one must make difficult decisions in their lives, as Naruto once told me. No one can really help you in making such decisions, as only you, yourself, can answer them. I won't tell you what to do, but considering your current predicament, I say you should return to Rika. However, whether you choose to or not, is your decision, Renamon, Doraemon said in a sage-like tone. I never thought you could be so insightful. It's something I picked up from Naruto. For a dunce, he can be a genius when it comes to one's personal matters. Well, I gotta go or Gataman will be worried. Doraemon rushed past the blonde fox in a burst of speed before leaping along the rooftops. The blue-eyed fox swished her tail as she watched the second purple Digimon leave her presence. However, whether you choose to or not, is your decision, Renamon. These words forever haunted the Kitsune Digimon's mind before she faded away from her location. Later that night, Naruto's apartment. Naruto and Doraemon were sitting on the couch as Gataman stood atop the small coffee table in the middle of the joint living room/kitchen. I can't believe you guys left me alone here without any consideration to tell me where you went, and another thing, Doraemon, why were you with Renamon? The two males rolled their eyes as the blue-eyed feline continued her rant of doom. Is she ever going to stop? The Tamer and Digimon thought in their minds. Thankfully, their prayers were answered as someone began knocking on the door of Naruto's apartment. Naruto glanced at Doraemon and Gataman. Okay guys, you know the drill, the blonde announced. The two Digimon nodded. Gataman and Doraemon quickly took on an immovable phase as they appeared to look like stuffed animals. Naruto quickly channeled his chakra. Henge no jutsu, he mumbled, and with a puff of smoke Naruto had changed into the likeness of his father, Minato Namikaze, wearing a larger version of the outfit he was currently wearing and sporting the whisker-like marks on his cheeks. In other words, Minato with whisker marks. Naruto, disguised by his henge, walked over to the door and peeked through the peephole in the door and saw a delivery man. Opening the door, Naruto looked at the man. You knocked? Naruto said. The delivery man had a large box next to him with a smaller box atop it. Hi, are you a Mr.? The man glanced down at the clipboard in his hand. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze? Naruto nodded. Yes, I am. The delivery man nodded and then picked up the boxes. But Naruto noticed he was straining in carrying them, probably from carrying them up 3 flights of stairs, while trying to balance the larger box in his hands. Don't worry, I got it, Naruto said and took the boxes from the delivery man and rested it in the apartment room. Okay, well then, Mr. Namikaze, you ordered 1 HP LCD desktop computer with a ready installed copy of Windows 7 software, a 20GB external memory card and wireless keyboard and mouse, as well as 1 Motorola cell phone with 4G software as well Android software installed into said phone? The delivery man asked. Naruto nodded. He had done some flipping through catalogs as well as going to a library and looking at the computers for dummies, cell phones for dummies, and the many other electronic appliances for one who is new to technology for dummies books and was now able to operate practically any piece of technology due to his use of Kagebunchen to memorize the information from the books. Naruto was now a tech nerd. Hi, arigato. Naruto thanked the man and signed the clipboard to certify his payment of the electronic devices, and the delivery man left with a tip of his hat. Naruto closed the door and released his henge, reverting back to his original form of a 13-year-old boy. Doraemon and Gatomon immediately got up as soon as Naruto released his henge and turned to the boxes with a smile. Oh boy, my order from the Amazon catalog reached. Naruto tore into the poor defenseless cubes of cardboard, first taking out his newly bought cell phone and observed it. He found the power switch to be placed on top the outlining of the phone and was greeted with a hello moto. Sug, the three occupants of the apartment said. What are these things? Gatomon asked. Naruto opened out the box for the computer next. These, Gatomon, are what are known as computers and cell phones. A cell phone, which is the small device in my hand, is used for telecommunication in which radio waves are transferred wirelessly from a phone to another cell phone. For example, say I wanted to talk to Rika-chan, I could use it, and if she answers her cell phone, I could communicate with her. Sound is heard from the small speaker on the top of the phone here, while you speak into the other speaker down on the bottom of the phone. Naruto explained. Gatomon and Doraemon tilted their heads in confusion. Huh! They stated intelligently. So it's like a communicator? Gatomon asked. Naruto's eyes brightened. Yes, you get it, he exclaimed. Doraemon still looked confused as ever. Naruto then proceeded to set up the computer. So what's this now? Doraemon asked. This is a computer. It is used for a multitude of uses. It can be used for communication through a software known as email. You can find information on almost anything using this incredible search engine called the Internet. Also, it is what makes the digital world. The digital world, I've realized, is made up from the joining up of all the servers and computer softwares all over the world, hence why there is a real world floating in the sky of the digital world. Also, since it appears that both worlds are parallel to each other, and are sort of one and the same, whatever happens here, happens in the digital world, but I'm getting off topic. Naruto paused. Anyway, the computer is what I wanted to have in order to help with my research on Digimon. Apparently, since Digimon are man-made, the data constructs that make up the information on the Digimon produce a real-life, physical representation of the Digimon. Naruto looked back at his coveted brown box that held his computer. So why do you need a computer to learn about Digimon? I mean, you have us, Doraemon said. Gatomon nodded. I agree with Doraemon. Why do you need a piece of machinery when you have living, breathing Digimon right in front of you? The feline Digimon added. Because not even you two have information on every single Digimon in the digital world, Naruto replied. As he took out the box filled with computer equipment, his eyes widened and his sweat dropped as he gazed at the large amount of wires he saw wrapped up into 3 individual coils. Then he took out the hard drive, the computer, the desktop monitor, and other computer gadgets before he took out the instruction manual. Naruto struggled to hold up the large book before dropping it on the floor, and the 2 Digimon and 1 human stared down at the large yellow book that read manual as it made a noticeable indentation in the carpet-covered floor. This might take a while longer than I thought, Naruto mused. Doraemon and Gatomon's sweat dropped at the Tamer's statement. You think? 5 hours later. Finally, I'm done. Naruto stared proudly at his newly constructed computer. That's great. Now where are you gonna put it? The 2 Digimon asked. On the desk table by the window that I had ordered last week. I wondered why you bought that hunk of wood, Doraemon mused. Naruto moved his computer to the desk and stood back to admire it proudly before fishing out the wireless mouse and keyboard along with the wireless LAN in order for him to connect to the internet. After synchronizing the devices, Naruto was ready for his journey into the unknown world of cyberspace. He pushed the power button, and the 3 could have sworn they heard a chorus of angels as the white light of the now active monitor glowed. Naruto seemed to tear up as he was brought to the home screen and saw the Google Chrome icon. He clicked it, and nearly teared up at the sight of the search bar. It's beautiful, he whispered. It looks like a piece of shit. This is what we were wasting 5 hours of our lives to do, Doraemon said. Naruto's happy expression immediately faded from his face, and he turned to glare at the dragon as he sat on the swiveling leather chair he bought with the wooden computer desk. Do you always have to ruin the moment? The blonde asked. Doraemon smirked. Now what kind of question is that? You already know the answer. In response, both he and Gataman bopped him on the head, earning a grunt of pain from the dragon Digimon. Itai. The next day, Naruto had finally built up enough trust in Gataman to finally let her out during the day, and damn, she was shocked when she saw the large amounts of humans, vehicles, and towering buildings that seemed to reach the heavens. The golden glow of the sun as it began to set seemed to enhance the appearance of the towering infrastructure. This is nothing like it is during the night, she murmured as she sat atop Naruto's blonde head. School had finished quite a while ago, so the trio were just enjoying the scenery. Then their minds were taken to the loud beeping sound from Naruto's pocket. We got a Digimon that's bio-emerging, Naruto stated. The two Digimon nodded and Naruto knelt down so Doraemon could climb on his back. You two ready? He asked. The dragon and cat Digimon nodded atop his head and back respectively. Naruto then took off, leaving behind a trail of dust at the speed he was moving. Many people gasped as they saw a black, purple, white and yellow blur race past them. Thus they didn't get a good look at the trio. Naruto fished out his Democrat Arkansas and the hologram of the compass appeared. The red arrow pointed in a northeast direction, which Naruto followed. This thing is so far away, Naruto sighed. He had been running for a while and it was slightly dark, a shade of navy blue bleeding into the fire-colored sky. Naruto then skidded to a halt as the Democrat Arkansas found the destination. The Digimon is in a parking lot? The blonde questioned, more to himself than others. Apparently so, Gataman inquired. Naruto then looked around and saw no one around, so after that he quickly channeled chakra into his feet and ran up the concrete walls of the parking lot until he reached the 4th level of the lot, which was where the Digimon was situated. Gataman and Doraemon hopped off of Naruto's person. The enhanced sense of smell came to life as Naruto took a deep breath through his nose. His eyes seemingly flashed red before he spotted a shadow moving in the back area of the parking lot. Found you. With a smirk, the blonde and the two Digimon stared into the shadowy background of the parking lot. Then a large black lizard jumped out. The digital monster's body seemed to be completely made of dark violet and black flames. A burnt orange made the color of its irises, and upon its head was a steel helmet. 3 sharp claws on each hand of the Dragon Digimon glinted in the light of the street lamps across the street. Naruto drew his Democrat Arkansas and scanned the Digimon as a holographic image of the Digimon in front of him was shown. Dark Lizardman, a champion-level Digimon who is made from a Flareisman that is infected with a virus. Its attacks are Dark Flare, Snipe Fang and Darkness Wave. Naruto read. So Gataman, how about I let you take this one? You haven't fought anyone except Doraemon since you've come here, the blonde Tamer suggested. Gataman smiled like a cat and showed her sharp fangs. Perfect idea, Naruto, the feline Digimon purred, her tail flicking back and forth in the air. Bring it on, kitty cat, the Digimon said with a feminine tone, indicating that Dark Lizardman was female. The feline raced towards the Dragon Digimon as Naruto and Doraemon sat atop a car and ate some popcorn that Naruto had stored in his sealing scroll that he always kept with him. Gataman quickly jumped into the air and aimed a slash at the fire dragon, but the lizard dodged the strike before aiming to use her own flaming slash on the Nico Digimon. However, Gataman avoided the attack, but Dark Lizardman followed up with more slashes. Gataman smirked as she used her superior speed and reflexes to avoid the attacks. The adrenaline coursing through her, Gataman jumped and flipped over Dark Lizardman's head before her claws glowed with a holy ivory color. Lightning Paw! The glowing paws slammed into the flaming lizard's back, sending her flying. Gataman followed after, and then channeled the energy from her Nico kick and increased her speed to appear in front of Dark Lizardman before slamming another lightning paw into the enemy Digimon's face. Then she fired more claw attacks to the chest that knocked the wind out of Dark Lizardman before Gataman performed a powerful uppercut with enough force to knock out teeth, if the lizard had teeth that is, before following up with a glowing foot to the chin. Nico kick! The foot crashed into the fiery lower jaw of the masked dragon, sending her skyward. Gataman jumped after her and then performed an axe kick to send her back to earth. But Dark Lizardman's eyes seemed to glow their burnt orange color before blocking the kick by crossing her forearms before grabbing the feline Digimon's ankle and making her meet the earth and forming an indentation in the concrete. Dark Lizardman then dropped down next to the fallen Gataman and opened her jaws. A swirl of dark shadows and purple flames formed before being launched at Gataman. Darkness Wave! She yelled and the attack raced towards the feline Digimon. However, Gataman was able to climb to her feet and with a rush of adrenaline cartwheeled out of the way before speeding towards her opponent. Claws alight with white energy. Dark Lizardman roared and her flaming claws seemed to grow in length and took on the shape of jaws. Lightning Paw! Snipe Fang! The two attacks clashed in a flurry of blows, sending shockwaves of light and dark after each impact. Then Gatamin and Dark Lizardman interlocked their attacks, energy flaring out from their contact before Gatamin used the interlocking to keep her forepaws stationary and leaped up to perform a front flip. Both her feet glowed as she powered through with a Nico kick to the face with enough force to knock out teeth. Fortunately for the Dragon of Flame, she had no teeth as Dark Lizardman's interlocking grip loosed and was sent skidding backwards, kicking up a slight amount of dust. Dark Lizardman then ducked under a lightning paw before crashing her claws into Gatamin's face and then spinning, and her long flaming whip, which could only be identified as her tail, slammed into the cat Digimon. Gatamin let out a cry of pain before she crashed into a support column. The white-furred cat glared at the fiery lizard and her feet glowed from charging up a Nico kick, and used the energy to increase her feet's movement, and blurred out of Dark Lizardman's field of vision. The Dragon Digimon looked around, her head whipping in every available direction in a 360-degree angle. She seems to be quite adept at fighting, Naruto said as he ate his popcorn. Doraemon reached over and took some for himself. Yeah, and I have personal experience to back it up, the Dragon Digimon added before swallowing, but she still has a long way to go before she can beat others above champion level. If she had a tamer, Gatamin might be able to handle herself better and be able to beat even ultimate-level Digimon, Doraemon said. Naruto nodded in agreement, but even what Doraemon said was right. Both Tamer and Digimon could only frown at the thought of Gatamin leaving the apartment to live with another person. Maybe was all he uttered. Dark Lizardman roared in pain as Gatamin dropped down from the ceiling, raking her claws down as they dug deeply into the fiery flesh that was Dark Lizardman. Gatamin then spun in a roundhouse kick to the back of the entity of Dark Flames. Dark Lizardman grunted in pain before smirking to herself as she caught a claw aimed for her face and then grabbed the other one. Gatamin growled and her pupils became vertical slits as she attempted to free herself from the iron grip of Dark Lizardman. If it weren't for her forepaws being made of the data from the Mega Digimon, Saberliaman, the burning sensation in her arms would be much, much worse. Dark Lizardman chuckled before throwing Gatamin away and into a car, breaking the headlights and causing the alarm to go off, loudly. However, the sound was soon replaced with a loud explosion as the darkness wave attack crashed into Gatamin and caused the car to blow up also from the extra power. Gatamin gritted her teeth as she leapt out from the burning wreckage of the vehicle. Her fur was slightly singed since she was able to escape quickly. Her eyes widened as she was face to face with a large tongue of violet-black flames that was just only a few seconds away from reaching her position. Dark Flare! Was the cry from the reptilian Digimon as the attack sped towards the chosen target. However, it was ended as the blast was diverted. Gatamin's eyes widened as she saw Naruto holding a kunai that was surrounded by wind chakra. Fire may be fueled by wind, but wind can divert the flames, Naruto stated. Are you alright, Gatamin? Doraemon asked as he knelt down to the downed champion Digimon. Gatamin nodded, and then she stared up at the much taller blonde shinobi, and with that gaze in his eyes, the fierce sapphire orbs brimming with determination to protect those precious, she knew she could trust Naruto with her very life. The golden ring on Gatamin's tail began to glow a shining topaz color. Naruto looked back and his eyes widened as the light stretched from the tail ring and followed a path and snaked its way into his hand. The light took on the shape of a Democrat Arkansas, similar to Doraemon's, except the ring around its screen was a bronze-gold color, like Fanglongman's scales. Naruto smirked and then clutched the Democrat Arkansas in his hand. Lucky me, 2 Digimon partners, the shinobi stated. Gatamin chuckled as she rose to her feet with Doraemon's assistance. I knew I could trust you, Naruto. The feline gave off a smirk to her newly proclaimed tamer. Naruto smirked and then cracked his knuckles and neck. Then what do you say, partner? You up for a fight? Of course. Don't leave me out, Doraemon exclaimed. Naruto smirked and formed a cross-shaped hand sign, Kagebunshin no Jutsu. And with a puff of smoke, a perfect copy of himself formed. He then handed Gatamin's Democrat Arkansas to the clone while he held Doraemon's. Naruto then drew a card and handed it to the Kagebunshin, who smirked at seeing the card. Digimodify, Saberlium and activate, the clone said. Gatamin smirked as her claw glowed a brilliant yellow. Howling Crusher. Gatamin yelled and brought down the 2 claws that made contact with Dark Lizardman. The reptile of flame was sent to the ground before a roar was heard. Digimodify, Talisman's Deep Forest. Doraemon raised his claws and brought them down, and a crack formed in the earth as it reached Dark Lizardman, and a large pillar of earth formed that sent Dark Lizardman upwards. Naruto and clone nodded to each other before running towards the Digimon, and then wind chakra into their feet. Their speed increased as a miniature tornado swirled around both blondes. Naruto and the Cage Bunshin flashed through hand signs, and then wind chakra flowed from their feet to their hands and formed 2 large claws on each blonde. Dark Lizardmen then reached their level as they reached out and made contact with the Digimon with the claws of slashing wind. Futon, Tatsumaki Asaiki no Jutsu / wind style, Tornado Crusher Jutsu. Dark Lizardman let out a scream of pain and crashed into the back wall of the parking lot and sent her falling to the floor after. The clone dispelled itself after handing Naruto the Democrat Arkansas for Gatamin to the original, who pocketed it with Doraemon's. The trio then walked over to the downed Digimon, whose form was beginning to flicker. No, please don't make me go. I want to be stronger, help me digivolve. Dark Lizardman surprised everyone by standing to her feet and reached out towards Naruto, but paused as Naruto was a small object flying through the air and nailed the Digimon in the neck. Naruto watched as Dark Lizardman's eyes rolled into the back of her head before she fell to the ground unconscious, a tranquilizer dart stuck in her neck. Naruto, Doraemon and Gatamin then turned as they saw a white light and the sound of the rotating of the blades from A. Naruto tried to remember what machine made that sound. Then it hit him. A helicopter? He tilted his head to the side in confusion. Then he heard footsteps and saw a man with dirty blonde hair in a black business suit and wearing dark sunglasses to cover his eyes. A cigarette lighter was being fiddled with in the newcomer's hands. "We'll take it from here, little boy," the man said as many armed men came down from helicopter and took Dark Lizardman. "What are you going to do with her?" the younger blonde asked. Yamaki chuckled. "Well, we just came here to tell you, little boy, that this is not to be treated as a game." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Oh, yeah, sure, let's play catch with the giant fireballs," Naruto said sarcastically. Yamaki glared from beneath his shades. "Listen here, boy. We know about you and your little monsters. These creatures are dangerous to be around, and I can tell you know this too," Yamaki said, gesturing to Dark Lizardman. Maybe I should take your own monsters too." Yamaki gestured to his soldiers to make a move, but they all froze as Naruto released killing intent. "Sir, I can't move," one soldier said. Naruto's eyes were a deep crimson as he stared at Yamaki. "You make one move towards these two, and I'll make sure that you never see the light of day," the Jinchuriki growled. Yamaki gritted his teeth, and Naruto ended his killing intent wave. "Well then, you seem interesting, more interesting than these monsters here," he smirked. "Take him down, boys." The soldiers raced bent down on their knees and readied their tranquilizer guns. But when dealing with Naruto, who can move faster than the wind, was not a smart idea to use a gun which takes so long, relatively speaking of course, to use, since you have to get into a position to shoot with the most efficiency, and also the reloading of the darts. Naruto growled, and before the soldiers could even move, Naruto vanished from sight, and then Yamaki watched in shock as he saw Naruto reappear as if he never left the spot, and saw all his soldiers lying on the floor, their guns knocked away and crushed, therefore making both weapons and man unusable. "We'll meet again, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze," Yamaki said. "How do you know my name?" the whiskered blonde asked with a glare. Yamaki pocketed his lighter and smirked. "We have been keeping an eye on you for quite a while, and with this little presentation you just showed me." Yamaki chuckled. "Your little secret might go public." Naruto's eyes widened and then watched as the soldiers who were groaning on the floor slowly get up and walk away with Yamaki back to the helicopter. Naruto, Doraemon and Gatamin stared in shock and watched the helicopter fly off. Naruto watched it and saw it go towards a pair of twin towers. "Tomorrow night, we go into those towers, and we destroy all evidence of me," Naruto said. He knew that they would probably take the rest of the night to only contain Dark Lizardman. The next day they would do their research, and then update their files on Naruto's information. "We can't risk the world knowing about you," Doraemon said. "Why don't we go now?" the dragon asked. "Because we can't go with Gatamin exhausted," he said, gesturing to the panting cat Digimon. "No. I am okay. Really?" she said between gasps before she fell unconscious. Doraemon quickly caught her before she hit the ground. Doraemon glared at the twin towers as he carried Gatamin. He and Naruto then walked back to the apartment and got Gatamin to sleep on the bed that Doraemon and Gatamin now shared. Apparently, she was only having nightmares just like Naruto, except hers seemed to be much worse. One word came from the mouths of both dragon and human. They stared out the window in the direction of the Hypnos towers. "Tomorrow." The next day, Naruto smirked as he looked at Gatamin. "It looks good on you," he said. He had attached a small cord of leather through the strap on Gatamin's Democrat Arkansas and wrapped it around her neck to make a makeshift necklace. "Really?" she asked. "Of course, you look nice," Doraemon said with a toothy grin. A blush reached Gatamin's face at the compliment from Doraemon. "Arigato." Then the diarchs went off, a beeping sound coming from both of them. "Well, looks like we got a bioemergence," Naruto said, and then nearly fell over as a sudden force reached his back and head. Doraemon climbed onto his tamer's back while Gatoman jumped onto her tamer's head. Naruto sighed. Suddenly, I'm beginning to feel I'm being abused for my uses of high-speed movement. Oh, Gomen Nasai, Naruto, Gatoman said. It's okay, Gatoman. I'm happy to carry you too, and I'll do it when I can, he said with a foxy grin. Now mush! Doraemon said and looked to see Naruto glaring back at him. Don't push it, he said, and then formed hand signs and the trio vanished in a swirl of leaves and wind. Shinjuku baseball field. The wind picked up around an area of the grass in the baseball field. A miniature tornado formed and the leaves swirled around before the winds dispersed to reveal Naruto with Gatoman and Doraemon. The two Digimon dropped down and shook their heads. How do you not get dizzy from moving like that? The feline asked. Naruto shrugged. I guess it's because I'm just that awesome, the blonde said with a smirk. Oh, you are so vain, my blonde tamer, Doraemon sighed. Then the compass appeared on the Democrat Arkansas around Gatoman's neck, showing that they were directly on top of the area where the Digimon were to appear. The hazy mist of a digital field then formed as a large fountain of data sprung forth from the earth. 5 Flybimon and 7 Flymon appeared from the data portal. The swarm of insect Digimon buzzed as they spotted the trio. The holographic image of a Flymon, the likeliness of a mutate bumblebee, a pointy black beak and the likeliness of pincers made its jaws, large wings made of a pink membrane and inscribed with an odd yellow symbol. The large black claw took each of its 6 legs and a large pointed black stinger completed the image. Flymon Naruto read, a champion-level Digimon whose hide is quite thick and contains a very potent poison in its body. Guess we will have to watch out for its brown stinger and poison power attacks. The trio then faced the swarm and charged. The swarm also split up, the Flybimon taking Naruto, and the Flymon heading for the two Digimon partners. Naruto leaped into the air, charged chakra into his clenched fist before crashing it into the head of a Flybimon, sending both he and it to the ground. Lightning Stinger! One of the armored Digimon yelled. Naruto rolled out of the way as a red lightning bolt struck the downed insect Digimon, and caused it to disappear into red flakes of data. Naruto then smirked as he saw 2 of them descend to attack him. He quickly spun on his heel and performed a spin kick that directed at the one of the 2 Digimon's sides. He then grabbed the one he had struck as he ducked beneath a poison sting from the second one. The third Flybimon tried to help his 2 fellow Digimon, but Naruto threw the Flybimon he had grabbed. He then jumped after it, and used the Digimon as springboard to reach the other 2 in the air, which was quite high up. The Flybimon twisted their bodies to avoid the lariats that Naruto planned to use. Naruto flew past his targets, and then formed a cross-shaped hand sign. Kagebunshin no Jutsu! He yelled. The copy of the blonde formed in a puff of smoke and then threw his creator at the Digimon. Naruto held out his arms and performed the lariat again, this time succeeding in bringing both Flybimon to ground level. The 2 Flybimon buzzed their wings in pain before Naruto backflipped in order to avoid the bolts of red lightning from the other 2 Digimon. The 4 Flybimon then rose up into the air, a bit lower though because they were injured. Naruto dodged an attack as one Flybimon tried to run him through with its stinger. He jumped backwards, but the Flybimon continued to follow him. Naruto quickly formed a Kagebunshin. The clone took the attack through its chest before vanishing in a plume of smoke, and Naruto charged through the cloud of white with a Rasengan in hand. The sphere of chakra plunged into the chest of the Flybimon and sent it spiraling away. Naruto quickly formed hand signs and ended on Hibi/Snake. Doton, Doryuden no Jutsu, he roared, and then Dragon of Mud and Rock formed before swallowing the Flybimon and then diverting its attention to the remaining 2. Lightning Stinger! The insect Digimon cried in a desperate attempt to stop the Earth Dragon, but it was no use and the beast of Earth swallowed them as well before the exploding tags Naruto had placed on the dragon burned out, and a large explosion formed as the dragon self-destructed, killing the Digimon as well. Gatoman and Doraemon were busy with the 7 Flymon. Due to their quickly regenerating stinger and their numbers, Doraemon and Gatoman were forced to dodge for most of the battle. Gatoman and Doraemon quickly jumped into the air as the brown stinger attacks nearly impaled them. Doraemon then grabbed Gatoman and threw her at one Flymon. Lightning Paw! She yelled and then impaled the insect through its head before jumping and flipping in the air in order to avoid a rain of stingers before impaling another with her claws. Doraemon then landed and fired a multitude of metal spheres. Metal Shoot! He yelled, and the spheres flew through the air and impacted with 2 of Th Flymon. The remaining 3 buzzed, their wings flapping with powerfully before a purple mist coated their vibrantly colored wings. Poison Powder! They yelled. Doraemon and Gatoman's eyes widened. They were surrounded by the 3 and couldn't escape unless they planned to get skewered for their troubles by a stinger. Naruto's eyes flashed red and he rocketed towards his Digimon before kicking straight through the skull of a Flymon, and then he formed 2 cage buncheons without hand signs. He then flashed through hand signs. Futon. Detapa he and his cage buncheons yelled, and the great gusts of wind formed a tornado that used its suction action to suck in the purple mist. Naruto then flashed through hand signs again. Futon, Furuenden no Jutsu. He cried out, and then tornado fashioned itself into a wind dragon that was edged with purple from the poison powder. The dragon sliced and poisoned the 2 remaining Flymon and ended their lives as they became red flakes of data. Naruto landed on the ground and walked towards his partners. "Are you guys okay?" he asked. Doraemon and Gataman nodded. "Hi, arigato," the 2 replied. Naruto then took off the makeshift necklace he used with Gataman's Democrat Arkansas. "I'm going to have to hold on to this," Naruto said, and then handed it to one clone. "It might get damaged in a fight." "You're right, that thing's is too dangly. It was nearly hit by the stingers from those Flymon before," Gataman said. The cage buncheon then left to hide nearby tree within the baseball field. However, the trio noticed something. "The digital field is still here," Gataman realized. "That means there's more of them," Doraemon growled, his rounded pupils becoming vertical slits. Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration as he saw the fountain of data arise from the earth again, and this more than a dozen of each of the insect Digimon appeared. Flybemon and Flymon alike rising out of the abyss in a swarm of red and yellow. The insects buzzed their wings ready to strike. Kyuso Naruto drew 2 kunai and coated them with wind chakra, forming a chakra blade extension. The blades humming from the wind-natured energy. However, before any one of the combatants made a move, there was a blonde blur that appeared in front of the trio. Diamond Storm. A circle of shining white energy formed in front of the golden-furred fox as the energy morphed into the shape of diamond crystals, just as pretty and just as deadly when as sharp as they are. The barrage of diamonds flew towards the swarm, causing them to scatter as some were knocked down by the attack. Renamon then ran towards the downed ones, and her paws were alight with blue flames. Power Paw! She crashed her fists and feet against the bodies of the downed insect Digimon, causing them to explode and scatter into red flakes of data. "Is this just your fight, or can anyone join in?" Renamon asked with a smirk. "Take them down!" Naruto roared as he smiled at Renamon. Renamon's glacial blue looked into Naruto's sapphire before giving the shinobi a wink before the 2 charged into the fray. Doraemon dodged the red bolts of lightning from numerous Flybemon before countering with metal orbs. He then reached one Flybemon and leaped into the air, his jaws wide open. Dino Tooth! And the dragon Digimon's sharp teeth dug deeply into the neck of the armored Digimon, breaking through the red armor exoskeleton and causing it to burst into red flakes of data. He then backflipped before landing on the back of a Flymon, and as a result of his landing, he pushed off so hard it grounded the insect before it dispersed into red flakes as Doraemon used metal shoot on it. He then slammed his tail against the face of another Flybemon before slashing its throat out. He kicked the bottom of the head of a Flymon that attempted to bite into him before twisting it, and using the downed Digimon as a shield to take the hit as red bolts of lightning and flying stingers from Flybemon and Flymon respectively embedded themselves into the body of the now dead Flymon. Doraemon landed on the ground and rolled to absorb the shock of falling from such a high height, which also aided in his evasive action as 3 Flymon tried to impale him with their stingers. Brown Stinger! The Flymon yelled simultaneously. Doraemon dodged and countered by opening his jaws. Metal Shoot! And then steel orbs met the organic weapons before Doraemon's pupils became vertical slits as they were previously rounded. He spun on his heel and grabbed a stinger that was aimed for him, and used it to block the other stingers from the other 2 and then threw, and it was impaled through the body of the Flymon that had originally launched said stinger. Doraemon then fired 2 more orbs of tempered steel and destroyed those 2 Flymon with a toothy smile on his face. Gataman backflipped as she avoided a barrage of stingers and lightning bolts before her claws glowed with white light. Lightning Paw! The feline roared and slashed through the hardened shells of the Flymon, and bringing one down before jumping onto another and another, each time she impaled them with her claws. She then front-flipped over the attempted poison sting attack from a Flybemon, and was quick enough to land on its back before it flew off. "Yoo-hoo," Gataman said in a sing-song voice. Flybemon looked up and see me to gulp before a flash of silver and black crossed his vision before Gataman stabbed her claws into the Digimon's face. Then she jumped off the Flybemon as it turned into data flakes before flipping in the air towards a few Flymon that were surrounding Doraemon in the air. Nico Kick! Gataman spun in a 360-degree angle and planted her glowing white feet/paws into the faces, which carried the force to knock the teeth out of a Tyrannomon. The heads of each Flymon snapped upwards with a crack being heard as their necks snapped, and they fell to the ground as crimson square flakes of data. Gataman then smirked at Doraemon. "Arigato, Gataman Doraemon said before biting into the neck of a Flybemon. No problem, she replied before front flipping over a charging Flymon and impaling it with her claws. Naruto smirked as he slashed through each and every insect Digimon with his wind chakra-enhanced kunai knives, slicing through the tough armor of the insect Digimon like a knife through butter. Naruto smirked as he twisted his kunai into a reverse grip and threw one of his kunai. A small whirlwind formed as the kunai broke the sound barrier from Naruto, channeling chakra into his arm muscles to increase his throw's power as well as the kunai's. Newton's second law was then applied as the rate of change of momentum of the kunai was directly proportional to the force which acted upon it, and moved in the direction of that force, being Naruto's throwing the kunai. In other words, his kunai went through and through about 5 Digimon before going through a tree and a boulder before landing on the ground in a crater. He then flipped in the air and threw his other kunai and flashed through hand signs as he saw a large amount of Flybemon race towards him. Kunai Kagebunshin no Jutsu. One kunai became 100 before they impaled all the Digimon and sent them packing as red data flakes. The group of 4 then regrouped in a tight circle in order for all the insect Digimon to gather in one area. Naruto then released a high-pitched whistle and his Kagebunshin that was hiding with Gataman's Democrat Arkansas appeared. Arigato the blonde thanked his copy before it gave a salute and disappeared in a plume of smoke. Okay Doraemon, Gataman, attack plan 17, he yelled out. The 2 Digimon nodded. Naruto quickly flashed through hand signs and his fingers sparked with yellow and blue sparks of electricity. Doraemon, Naruto ordered. The dragon rookie nodded before aiming upwards. Metal shoot! Doraemon fired a series of metallic spheres in a circle formation before Naruto immediately formed his attack later on. Raiton, Doutsu / lightning style, conduction. Random bolts of blue and yellow electricity flew from Naruto's fingers before becoming attracted to the metallic orbs floating above and then allowed them to glow from the charge in them. Gataman, I'm on it! The feline yelled. Renaman's eyes widened in awe at the teamwork these 3 were using. Such strength, when with companions, she thought, as Gataman floated in the electromagnetic field generated from the floating orbs of steel, which in turn allowed the orbs themselves to levitate. Naruto then took out Gataman's Democrat Arkansas and drew a card. Digimodify, Imperial Dragon Paladin Mode's Omni Sword. The card was slashed through the Democrat Arkansas. The bronze Democrat Arkansas scanned the card before transferring the card's abilities to Gataman, and in the feline Digimon's hands, she held the great weapon of Imperial Dragon Paladin Mode. Gataman held the glowing white and gold blade before spinning and creating a twister of white and gold. The metallic orb spun also and drew the attention of the entire swarm that remained. Naruto quickly took out 2 scrolls. He opened both. The first was blank while the other had seals on them. He pumped chakra into the second scroll and a bottle of his father's sealing ink and his special seal drawing brush appeared. Naruto dipped the brush in the ink and with the precision of a sealing master he drew a multitude of kanji and other seals before sealing away the ink and brush away when he was done. He then flashed through hand signs and slammed his palm on the scroll and pumped chakra into the seals. Fuin Jutsu, Fuin no Yan Hagosha / Sealing Jutsu, 4 Guardian Seal. Then 4 golden shields appeared before the tornado of gold and white could harm them as they harmed the swarm. The shields taking on the shape of a box. One had the image of a turtle, one was a phoenix, the other a tiger, and the 4th was a dragon. Collaboration Jutsu. Gataman cried out the name of the attack. Tenrai Denjishaka Erasure no Jutsu / Collaboration Jutsu. Divine Electromagnetic Storm Jutsu. The metal spheres began to glow brighter before the tornado expanded, not harming Renamon, Naruto, or Doraemon as they were in the shield. The tornado sucked in the Flybemon and the Flymon into the tornado due to the suction and the pull of the electromagnetic field. The insect Digimon were then caught in a large lightning storm, and with a flash of light, the storm died down, revealing a slowly rotating Gataman who fell to earth from using so much energy with the Omni Sword. The blade vanished into data as she fell. Doraemon quickly, and to her surprise, used Renamon as a springboard to reach the feline Digimon. So tired, did I do the jutsu good, Doraemon? She asked. Doraemon chuckled before landing on the ground. Yeah, you did great. Gataman nodded and nuzzled Doraemon's face as she fell unconscious. Doraemon forced down the blush that threatened to appear. Then the 4 heard a gasp. They all turned to see Rika-chan / Rika. Renamon and Naruto exclaimed. The red-haired girl looked downcast. Renamon was strong. She doesn't need me, the girl thought as Calumet was standing next to her. Takato and Henry, along with Gilman and Terriermon, had arrived on the scene a few seconds before Rika and were able to see when the electromagnetic storm appeared and were staring in awe at the wide crater they were in. It wasn't deep, but it was wide. Renamon was about to leave as the place began to get tense from the aura between her and Rika before another digital field sprung up. A large Digimon in the image of a harpy appeared. Rika took out her Democrat Arkansas and scanned the Digimon. Harpamon, an armor-level Digimon whose Wind Seeker attack is deadly, and she is quite accurate with the thing Rika read. She watched as Renamon ran towards the harpy Digimon and leapt into the air. Harpamon dodged the punch to her face before catching the fox Digimon with her talons and threw her down to the ground. Renamon growled as she remembered what Impmon told her. "The strength is within me," she thought as she closed her eyes and began to concentrate on bringing out that power as she fell. Her glacial blue eyes then snapped open. Renamon rolled with the fall to avoid a Wind Seeker attack. The wind blast crashed into the ground before Renamon jumped, and her paws caught alight with the ghostly blue flames. "Power Paw!" Renamon yelled before slamming a flurry of punches against the face and stomach of the half-bird, half-human Digimon hybrid. Then Renamon spun and slammed a powerful roundhouse kick to the face. Harpamon let out a shriek from the pain as Renamon landed on the ground. "It worked. Impmon was right. I wished for strength, and it came to me," Renamon said. Renamon then ran and performed a Diamond Storm, injuring the Digimon further before performing an axe kick, sending the Digimon to the ground. Renamon was about to finish Harpamon off, but froze as a thought came to her. "I may get stronger from absorbing data, but once it's all over, what am I to do? I will be able to digivolve and fight for myself, but what is my purpose once I have achieved this?" However, the blonde Kitsune was too distracted by this development that she didn't notice Harpamon taking to the skies again. "Think we should tell her she's about to get hit?" Doraemon asked. "Maybe, or we could let Renamon and Rika-chan see that they actually need each other to become strong," Naruto suggested. Doraemon thought and smirked. "I like your way better." "Well, of course, it's my way," Naruto said. Doraemon chuckled and heard the battle cry, more like a screech to other ears though, as Harpamon flapped her wings with a powerful forward thrust. "Wind Seeker!" The wind crescent materialized and the concentrated wind blast connected with Renamon. The Kitsune let out a cry of pain before skidding along the ground as she held her own against the attack, but it still hurt like hell. Harpamon then rushed downwards and crashed into Renamon, sending her to the ground. Harpamon then thrust back her talon-covered feet and thrusted forwards. Renamon rolled to the side to avoid it before having to roll to the other side to avoid the other talons on her other foot. This kept up for a while as Rika watched in horror. "No, Renamon!" Rika's violet-gray eyes stared before she shook her head and steeled her nerves. "When the times comes, you will know what to do." Rika withdrew the kunai Naruto gave her from her pocket and gripped it tightly. "I know what to do." The fiery-tempered girl rushed towards the Digimon, and Henry and Takato stared in shock. "Rika Mateo, what the hell are you doing?" Takato yelled. Their words fell on deaf ears as Rika continued to run, and then she raised the kunai, and with a yell she stabbed the kunai into Harpamon, right between the wings. Harpamon let out a cry of pain as Rika took out the kunai and stabbed her again before the Digimon threw her off. Rika rolled on the ground and stared up as Harpamon screeched, "Foolish human!" The harpy Digimon descended with a shriek. The crimson triangle on Calyamon's forehead began to shine, and its crimson light bathed the grass to make it look like it was covered in blood. Rika's Democrat Arkansas glowed in her pocket, and the screen released a white light. Digivolution. Renamon Digivolve 2. Renamon was ensconced in a blue egg of data, and her skin peeled away to show her larger, stronger form beneath a wire frame pattern. Skin then reattached itself to give form to the champion level of Renamon. The egg then exploded as Renamon's form changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of one tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Cubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs, and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. Cubimon, the large 9-tailed kitsune, howled as she charged Harpamon and tackled Harpamon to the ground. Harpamon managed to wiggle out of the kitsune's grasp, but Cubimon couldn't catch her again as the armor-level Digimon took to the skies and flapped her wings with powerful movements, building up wind currents into a single crescent shape. Wind Seeker! The wind blast descended upon Cubimon, but Cubimon spread out her tails, each one alight with ghostly blue balls of flame. Foxtail Inferno! The attack broke through the wind blast as the Foxtail Inferno used the wind in order to increase its already blazing hot temperatures. The attack crashed into Harpamon and reverted her into red flakes of data. However, Cubimon didn't absorb the data as she walked up to Rika. You didn't absorb her data? Rika questioned. The giant Kitsune shook her head. No, Rika, I've realized that I do not need data in order to become stronger. As long as you and I are together, Rika, it is then I am truly strong. Cubimon smirked. Rika chuckled. Well, yeah, with me as your tamer, there's no one that can beat us, the red-haired preteen said. The two chuckled while Takato, Henry and their partners watched in confusion. What happened to our Ice Queen? Terriermon asked. Henry sighed. Terriermon, the Asian boy whined. Momenti, Henry, you know you want to know what changed her evil ways, Terriermon told his tamer. Rika and Cubimon smiled at each other before turning to the backs of Naruto and Doraemon as they were leaving. Naruto and Doraemon turned back and nodded in approval to the two females and then headed back for their apartment. On did they? Nighttime Hypnos HQ. After Gatamin had rested to her full health, our protagonist and his two Digimon partners appeared at the Hypnos building and looked around for anywhere and besides the front door. However, when they were about to give up and use the damn door, they heard the sound of wind blowing, coming fro inside the building as it left the infrastructure. Ventilation shafts, the three thought. Naruto then grabbed the two and after channeling chakra into his feet he scaled the vertical surface of the building as he reached the vent on what appeared to be the second level of the extremely tall building. Naruto looked at Gatamin, who nodded with a smirk. Her foot glowing white. Nico kick! The kick broke through the vent and allowed them access into the building. The trio entered the vents and crawled through them. Naruto sniffed the air in the vents before catching on to Yamaki's scent. I got his scent, he whispered to the two Digimon. The three followed the maze of aluminum and steel before coming to a drop. Mateo, stop, he said, but the two didn't hear him as they pushed him over the edge and also caused themselves to fall also as they had tried to grab the heavier human as he fell. Doraemon and Gatamin screamed, but Naruto quickly grabbed them over their mouth and channeled chakra into his feet and planted his feet along the walls of the downward vent. Naruto winced as he was forced into a split, which really hurt. Are you guy insane? Alert the entire building, we're here, why don't you, he growled. Doraemon and Gatamin chuckled in nervousness, their tamer sure was scary when he was mad. Naruto quickly dropped down before bending his knees as he landed in order to help stop his landing from making too much noise. His ears then twitched as he heard voices on his left. Naruto motioned for his partners to follow him. The two complied with their tamer and found themselves looking through a vent in a laboratory. In the laboratory was a large generator which had a large amount of electrical equipment and scientists running about, talking about the wild one they had found in a parking lot. Dark Lizardman, Naruto thought. He then saw most of the room which was in front of the generator was full of a bluish-green liquid that was obviously not water. Probably some sort of liquid that is non-conductive since the liquid would be covered with electrical charge if it were aqueous, the blonde thought. Then he growled as he saw the man he was looking for, Yamaki. Yamaki-san! One of the lab assistant cried out. What? The blonde owner of Hypnos asked in annoyance. Are you sure you want to do this? I mean, we could study the creature and learn about it, the lab tech said. Yurei-sai, you baka. I make the orders here, and I say we destroy every particle of that thing so as to obtain the information which we so desperately require and which we could be able to destroy those beasts that those tamers are calling Digimon, Yamaki growled. It's not even worthy to be called an organism, but Yamaki-san it is. It has a body and is therefore labeled as such. Don't argue with me now. Now get the data analyzer ready, the lab tech sighed and complied with his boss before turning to the control board. He flipped a few switches, turned knobs and pressed the big red button. The data analyzer suddenly whirred to life and Dark Lizardman was awake in the data analyzer. No please, don't make me go back. H. The flaming lizard Digimon screamed in pain as its data was analyzed and then its body destroyed. Sir, analyzing the data from the Digimon is complete. However, we only destroyed its body, not its data entirely, the lab tech said. Yamaki nodded. Destroy what's left, leave nothing behind. I have to oversee the information on our file about file alien, Yamaki said. Kyuso, does he know? Naruto asked himself. Know what? Gatamin asked, her blue eyes wide with curiosity. Oh, well, remember Gatamin, Naruto is from another universe and therefore there are no records or information about him. He's hoping that this Hypnos, or whatever this place is called, doesn't have much on him, Doraemon explained. The feline nodded. Naruto then turned around and followed Yamaki's scent through the ventilation system, and realized the man was heading upwards. The blonde and his two Digimon waited a few seconds as the room cleared out. Naruto then burst through the vents and jumped onto the floor, and signaled for his Digimon partners to do the same. However, as they did, a lab tech had come back. Forgot my files, the lab tech grumbled, and then he spotted an orange and black color in his peripheral vision. Naruto blinked as the man spotted them. Naruto growled before vanishing in a blue of speed as the man was about to squeal, and with a quick chop to the neck, the man was unconscious. Naruto then positioned him so it looked like he fell asleep on his desk. Naruto then sneaked through the door with Doraemon and Gataman and then found the elevator. Naruto watched as the elevator went to the top floor. It's always the top floor, Naruto groaned before looking around the hallways. There was nobody there and the lights were off, so Naruto quickly channeled his earth-natured chakra and punched the steel door, bursting it open. He then grabbed Doraemon and Gataman before channeling Kyuubi's chakra into his feet, as his normal chakra would only make him go slower. Well, slower in terms between his and Kyuubi's chakra. The shinobi clung to the wall and began to climb up it using all fours as the two Digimon hung on to his head and back respectively. The orange and black blue raced up the elevator shaft until he came to the base of the elevator and punched a hole in it. He then spread it out and allowed he and his Digimon partner to climb out. He then pried the door of the elevator open and walked out. The three walked along the hallway as Naruto followed Umaki's scent. So this Umaki guy has been plotting to destroy Digimon, and he's been keeping tabs on me, the blonde thought. Naruto cracked his knuckles and walked towards the door that automatically slid open as it was an automatic door, and he and his Digimon stared at all the electronic equipment in the room. There were computer-generated graphs, a large screen that featured something called Juggernaut, but Naruto didn't care about these things. His mission was a simple hit and run. Destroy the equipment that held information on him and leave. He sneaked through the room without Umaki and Riley noticing, both of which who were busy analyzing the data on him on a screen. Naruto looked as they updated the information on him. Doraemon and Gataman were by his side watching along with him. The three were using all their stealth as they observed the screen. Name: Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Age: approximately 13 years old. School: Shinjuku Junior High. Physical appearance: spiky blonde hair, blue eyes, seems to be average height, 3 whisker-like scars on each cheek. Cause of these marks is unknown. Usually wears a black t-shirt with an orange dragon and orange flames on it, a pair of black/navy blue pants, a belt with a crimson X as a buckle, and a pair of orange and blue sneakers. Blood type O. Skills: high levels of stealth, hand-to-hand combat, weapons experts usually with shuriken and throwing knives, can manipulate the elements of fire, water, wind, earth and lightning, can erect force fields of some kind. Possesses enhanced senses, strength, speed, reflexes, stamina, and endurance. Wild One's associates. First Wild One appears to be a purple and white furred dragon with a red gem embedded in its forehead. Has enhanced senses and can fire metal spheres from its mouth. Is very adept at hand-to-hand combat, and can fight on even terms with other Wild Ones larger than itself. Extremely dangerous. Second Wild One resembles an Egyptian cat with 2 extremely large forepaws and ringworm on its tail. Has enhanced senses, and is adept in hand-to-hand combat, able to take down Wild Ones bigger than itself. Extremely dangerous. Known family members: unknown. Danger level: extremely dangerous. Naruto, Doraemon and Gataman's eyes widened. Naruto, they know all of this. How come you haven't done anything? Doraemon whispered. Because I thought after we ditched them in the park where we met Raidamon, they would leave us alone. And also they appear to be taking this information only when we fight the Digimon that bio-emerge, Naruto replied. Well, that's partly your fault for them to receive this much information. But Naruto, they might have backups, so take down the girl, destroy the information and the computer, and then take the man down. Threaten him to tell you where the backups are and then destroy those. Gataman smirked at her plan as she saw the 2 males stare in awe. Good plan, Gataman, Doraemon uttered. Arigato, Doraemon. You're always so good to me, Gataman said as she hugged the dragon Digimon. Okay, you two can flirt later, now come on, Naruto said. Doraemon blushed while Gataman released Doraemon from the hug and winked at him. Doraemon would have fainted from the rushing of the blood to his head and face, but managed to not faint. Naruto looked at Digimon, and then held up one finger. Then he raised a second, and then with a third he made the motion to attack. Naruto and his Digimon blurred out of sight. Riley and Yamaki were watching the screen until they saw multiple weapons slam into the screen and keyboard and frying the circuits. Naruto formed hand signs before firing water bullets at the computer. The computer fried from being soaked and destroyed. Riley and Yamaki were completely off guard, even more so when Doraemon appeared and chopped Riley in the back of her neck and knocked the red-haired woman out. Yamaki was about to turn, but froze as he felt the coldness of Gataman's claws at his throat. Heh, just like you beasts to threaten us defenseless humans, Yamaki chuckled. We are not beasts, human, Doraemon growled. Naruto dropped down from the ceiling and landed on the cold, stone floor. Now then, Yamaki, how do you know my name? The same way you learned mine. By spying on the other, Naruto replied with a foxy grin. His eyes flashed red before reverting back to blue and back to red. The irises remained crimson, because Naruto really needed to get that information out of the blonde man. Now listen here, Yamaki. I know you have made backup information of this information you have on me. Where is it? What makes you think I'll tell you? The shades-wearing man said. Naruto chuckled before revealing his claws and held them up to his throat with Gatoman's own. Because if you don't, I will have Gatoman, and not to mention myself, slice open your throat, Naruto growled, the crimson aura of Kyuubi's yokai surrounding him. Naruto suddenly froze as he heard the sound of a click. It was faint, but he heard it and looked to where it came from, Yamaki's glasses. Naruto ripped off the glasses and crushed them, and the circuitry for his camera broke apart. Remember, Yamaki, you wrote down I have enhanced senses. That little click just gave you away. Now tell me what I want to know. Yamaki sighed and chuckled. No, Naruto palmed his face before grabbing Yamaki by his collar. Gatoman jumping down from his shoulders and watched Naruto punch the man in his face. Listen here, you don't want to make me angrier than I already am, and you won't like me when I'm angry, the Jinchuriki said. Yamaki gulped as he nearly pissed his pants, feeling the killing intent coming of Naruto in waves, and then he saw Naruto's eyes glance to Riley, and his eyes widened. If you don't answer, I know some very sexually deprived people who would love to see this little piece of ass, Naruto said, grazing Riley's face. Apparently Kyuubi's influence was affecting his vocabulary and his dark nature was coming through. Yamaki shook his head. Alright, I'll tell you. It's in the secondary hard drive, and there are 2 flash drives in the bottom drawer of the desk. Riley sitting at Naruto smirked before reaching into Yamaki's pockets and pulling out the other floppy disks and flash drives from the man's pockets. I'm not stupid, Yamaki, Naruto said, and then crushed the data on him. Naruto then saw Doraemon and Gatoman destroy the secondary hard drive and found the 2 flash drive and stomped them into pieces. Naruto's eyes flickered from crimson to blue before they settled on their original sapphire color. Well, we'll be seeing you around, Naruto said. He then dropped Yamaki on his ass on the floor before he took Doraemon and Gatoman and vanished in a swirl of wind and leaves. However, although Naruto was able to destroy the programs on himself, he failed to remember about the Digimon destroying program. Yamaki reached into his shoe and pulled out a floppy disk and a CD, each labeled with one word, Juggernaut. Yamaki chuckled once he finished downloading this large amount of data into the main hard drive. All Digimon will be eradicated and the world will be free of those digital scum. Yamaki walked over to the main hard drive and inserted both CD and floppy into the main hard drive. He watched the program load itself, and then went to reach for his cigarette lighter when he knocked over a stack of floppies that Riley had organized very nicely, and in alphabetical order too. Yamaki sighed and picked up the floppies until he came to a silver-colored floppy. His dark-colored eyes stared at the name on the floppy. X program? He questioned. He looked at the floppy and found a note stuck to its back. To whomever reads this letter, this is the floppy containing a prototype data-destroying program. This X program requires the encryption key 7746574473#8*9. It destroys all unwanted data, and unless stopped using the encryption key I have written here, this program cannot be stopped. The encryption key to stop the program is 9998465367263. Use only when necessary. This program was banned because it caught a virus and nearly destroyed the entirety of cyberspace. But before we banned it, I managed to add an antivirus program into the X program and destroyed the virus, making it safe to use again. May you use it well, whomever you are, Dr. Yuji Jito Takano. Yamaki smirked. If he could incorporate this program into the Juggernaut, he could make an even more potent data-removing program. Juggernaut X, he would call it. Yamaki's not good with names. But he wondered why the certain letters were in bold. He shrugged. Now to upload this into Juggernaut. Yamaki did so, and by tomorrow evening, all the necessary components of Juggernaut X would be completed. Next day evening, it was Saturday, and the 4 Tamers were relaxing and enjoying each other's company, even Rika. It was around 5 o'clock, so the sun was still shining high in the sky. This is nice, the 4 of us and our Digimon all together, Takato said as he adjusted his goggles. So Naruto, how did you meet Gatoman and became her tamer? I mean Takato, and I asked about the mystery Digimon when Doraemon digivolved. But you avoided the topic like the plague, Henry said. Yeah, and how does Rika know about Gatoman? Takato added. Naruto and Rika looked at each other, as if telepathically communicating with each other. Rika shrugged and Naruto sighed. Okay, I'll tell you. But before I begin, Takato, why did you reveal the existence of Gilman to your friend Jerry? the blonde asked. You showed Jerry, Gilman, Rika exclaimed. Yeah, because she's someone I can trust, and although she calls him cute, but she can still be dependable. She hasn't told a single soul, Takato said. Understandable, also given the fact that you obviously have a crush on this girl, Rika said. Takato blushed while the other two males chuckled. How did you know that? The goggle-wearing preteen exclaimed. Girl's intuition by ass. You saw him blushing when he mentioned her, Naruto said, causing Rika to slap Naruto upside the head. Itai, Rika-chan, that hurt. Naruto! Henry and Takato yelled out. Nanny? Gatterman, they said. Oh right. Well, I was fighting a Daimojimon with Doraemon when Rika came along, saying how that she came to stop it, and was a bit late considering she lives like 15 minutes from Shinjuku Park, Naruto said, earning him a playful punch from Rika. After that, Daimojimon hit down a tree, saying how that he was originally looking for, and I quote, stupid rat of a Digimon before trying to kill her. Doraemon and I managed to save Gatterman while Renamon digivolved into Cubimon and defeated Daimojimon. After that, I took care of Gatterman and Doraemon helped in her adaptation to the real world. Well, that's the gist of it, unless you want to go into the battle details. Takato and Henry shook their heads no. Suddenly they felt a large energy wave hit them. They turned and saw their Digimon staring at the Hypnos Towers. Above it was a large portal made of blue, green and red data as the sky began to appear, forming a swirl of color. The once blue sky filled to with dark cumulonimbus clouds. Damn it, Yamaki, Naruto growled. What are you talking about, Naruto? Henry asked. The leader of Hypnos. Hypnos is the twin towers over there. Yamaki is their leader, and I managed to sneak into their building and I found out about it. Something called Juggernaut. It's supposed to remove all Digimon from our world, and now we have to stop it, Naruto said. Doraemon, Gatterman, let's go! Naruto yelled and took off towards the Hypnos Towers, his two Digimon following him at his sides. Naruto, Mateo! Takato called out. Meet me there, the blonde called back, and then grabbed Gatterman and Doraemon before he channeled chakra into his feet and left them all in the dust. Literally. Hypnos HQ, Hypnos Twin Towers. Naruto stood in front of the building as he looked up at the portal. Large amounts of Digimon began flying up from random locations towards the swirling mass of data in the sky as they were sent back into the digital world. Then he watched as Gatterman was suddenly being pulled towards the portal by its energy. Doraemon quickly grabbed the feline Digimon, and then all of a sudden his old interface gem began to glow on his forehead. A glowing red aura surrounded Doraemon, and then a large sky blue-colored ball of data floated out of the old interface, and then stretched out to form a transparent blue shield. On it read a single word in digicode. X-antibody? Gatterman read. Naruto and Doraemon looked at each other with wide eyes. The X-antibody! They exclaimed. However, they heard a chuckle as they saw Yamaki walking up to them with a sensor pad in his hand. I see you are witnessing my greatest creation, Juggernaut X, a mixture of the ancient data-destroying program, the X program, and my own Juggernaut program, Yamaki said. However, as he watched the remaining Digimon go into the portal, a large tear in the sky, as if it were sliced with a knife, leaving a large gash that showed a large amount of data. What's happening? Yamaki yelled into the headpiece he had in his ear. Sir, there appears to be some kind of data interference on the other side. It's a wild one, and it appears to much stronger than any of the other wild ones that have appeared. It's breaking through the Juggernaut X, and using it as a way to enter our world, the lab tech on the other end said. No, it's not possible. Yamaki roared. I designed this program myself, it's flawless. If I never should have let children hang out with Digimon. Oh sir, blame us for your failures, Naruto said, rolling his eyes. But then he began to think. Yamaki mentioned something called the X program, which means that Doraemon's X antibody is a way to fight back the destructive products of the X program, and Doraemon was said to be around before even the sovereigns. From the information Ebonwoman had given me on the digital world and its makeup, there is an old interface which made a few Digimon, Doraemon being one of them. Naruto thought. Doraemon, your X antibody, it's preventing Gatterman and you from going into that portal. Nanny? The two Digimon asked. Hi, Yamaki mentioned an X program being interfaced with his Juggernaut, so therefore, your X antibody must have been made to adapt to the destructive products of the X program. Since Yamaki said it was a data-destroying program, the X antibody is helping to fight it off, Naruto explained. I see. However, the conversation was ended as large voice filled the sky. I must thank you, human bakas, for allowing us passage into this world. Humans may have created us, but now you bow down to us, the Digimon. The voice yelled. I'd never serve you, digital scum. Leave our world immediately. Yamaki cried out, and then talked to the lab tech. Use the encryption key. Stop Juggernaut X, Yamaki ordered. The lab tech complied, and within the lab he tried to, but it wouldn't respond. Sir, It won't respond, apparently, until that wild one reaches to our world. The portal will remain open, the lab tech explained. Yamaki growled and then looked at Naruto's Digimon. This is all their fault. If you hadn't arrived in our world, this never would have happened. Yamaki growled and stalked towards Gataman and Doraemon. Naruto quickly came to their aid and growled at Yamaki. Leave, he growled. Yamaki gritted his teeth and turned tail and ran. The Sovereign Ones shall forever reign over this world as supreme rulers of both digital and real worlds, the voice said, and then a large blue light formed from the portal made by Juggernaut X and onto the roof of Hypnos. The Sovereigns? Naruto questioned. Naruto. It's coming, Gataman and Doraemon said. Naruto glared at the light. This was one battle that needed to be won. But Naruto could only think one thing as he felt the power coming from the bio-emerging Digimon. Will we survive this?